Roman slave owner. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Attack. Yes, you are, Cage said with a vigilant look. I am an official of this dock. May I ask when your ship will arrive? Don't get me wrong. A ship is about to dock and the berths at the dock are a bit tight, the official said with a smile. A hidden gleam flashed in Cage's eyes, but this gleam of light quickly flashed away. Why are you in such a hurry? We will leave in 3 hours at most. This is the last batch of goods. A Capua elder asked us to take a batch of goods temporarily, so we were delayed a little, Cage said impatiently. I don't know who you are, the official asked. The deputy captain of the escort of the Black Pearl, Cage said. I am so disrespectful. My name is Aquilius. This dock is under my jurisdiction. If you need me in the future, just tell me. I admire the admiral very much. Really, Cage said with a smile. There are a lot of pirates on the sea recently. You must be careful, Aquilius said. That's right. A few days ago, several of our transport ships were robbed. If we knew who did it, I would definitely nail them to the cross and beat them to death, Cage said coldly. Aquilius's face became unnatural, but he quickly said, you are right. Those pirates are really abominable. Now many ships are sailing along the coast and then through the Strait of Messina, because even if they encounter pirates, they can have more chances to escape. We think so too. If you ask me, just find the pirates' lair and kill them all. This will save a lot of trouble, Cage said casually. Strait of Messina? Aquilius thought, so he quickly changed the subject. The two chatted casually for a few words, and Cage got on the ship. The smile on Aquilius's face quickly disappeared, and he left here with a cold snort. What he didn't know was that a person not far away had been staring at him, and immediately followed him when he saw him leave. On the Black Pearl, Aeneas took off his collar, then took off his fake beard, and spat hard. This thing was really disgusting. At this time, Gita walked in and said with a smile, how do you feel now? It's okay. Not bad, just a little stuffy, Aeneas said. A 5-layer warship is usually equipped with 300 oarsmen, in addition to 200-300 soldiers, but this ship is equipped with more than 500 soldiers. Generally, oarsmen do not participate in battles, but Levi specially replaced the oarsmen, and when necessary, they will also participate in battles. Aeneas, you are too sissy, you can't even bear this little bit of hardship. At this time, a scarred man said, he was Sinas. After failing to compete with Aeneas for the senior centurion, he was very dissatisfied, so he argued with Aeneas. Aeneas gritted his teeth and looked at this nitpicker. He just complained casually, and this guy took it too far, which was extremely hateful. Look at me. Even in a difficult situation, I am always optimistic. Sinas continued. Okay, Sinas, stop being naughty. Let's talk business. Everyone, put on your armor quickly. We don't know when the pirates will come, but we have to be prepared as soon as possible. Gita said. No problem. Sinas opened the box, revealing the armor inside, and then put it on. Aeneas looked at him with contempt. This guy is getting more and more good at showing off. It is said that he also hopes that the master of the family will let him become the chief justice, and he can say anything shameless for this. He doesn't even look at what kind of material he is, and he actually wants to become the chief justice. He is really ignorant of the world. Unlike him, his praise for the master of the family is always sincere. Sir, do you think the pirates will come? Aeneas asked. They will definitely come. With such a large amount of goods released, I don't believe they won't bite the bait. But when they come, you must not wet your pants, Gita said with a smile. How could that be? We are elite troops who have fought countless battles. If they dare to come, we will make sure they never return. These guards said, putting on armor and steel swords. They turned into powerful Roman soldiers. The Black Pearl sailed south along the coast, and from time to time various ships passed by, including fishing boats and transport ships. Gita guessed that there must be spies of the pirates among them, but a day passed, and they still did not find any trace of pirates. What's going on? Why haven't they come to attack? Gita asked. Maybe their way of transmitting information is too slow. I think they are likely to intercept in one place, that is, the Strait of Messina. At this time, the captain of the Black Pearl said, he is a very experienced captain, who has been drifting on the sea for most of his life, and was hired by Levi to be the captain of this transport ship with a large sum of money. Why? Gita asked. It is very difficult to find the ship in the vast ocean, but the Strait of Messina is different. It is a strait between Italy and Sicily. The passage is narrow and the sea is calm. We used to go through the Strait of Messina when we went to Egypt. As long as he blocks the exit of the strait, it will definitely block our ships, the captain said. I see. In that case, everyone should have a good rest. When we reach the Strait of Messina, we will be on full alert, Gita said. Hearing his order, the guards found a place to lie down and rest. Just behind them, within a 2-hour voyage, there was a 5-layer warship and several 3-layer warships hanging in the distance. These ships were full of Dragon City guards. In order to avoid the monitoring of the pirate accomplices, Levi deliberately pulled them to come up before boarding. He was also very surprised that there was no pirate attack for a long time. Fortunately, there was a small boat to pass the message, knowing that the ship in front was safe, so he still ordered the fleet to continue sailing south as planned. A rising sun jumped out from the sea, dyeing the entire sea with a layer of gold. Groups of seagulls screamed and flew from Sicily to the ocean. After a day of sailing, they finally arrived at the Strait of Messina. Looking at the layers of mountains in the distance, Gaeta could only sigh that it was a beautiful sight. He glanced at the 3-story paddle boat behind him and sneered. This ship has been following them since yesterday afternoon and has been following them until now. Although it is possible that they are on the same route, he does not believe in such coincidences. At this moment, a lookout on the tower suddenly shouted loudly, "Sir, 4 large ships are coming towards us from the front, and the largest ship has a purple sail." Purple sail pirates. They are here as expected. Chapter 202 Naval Battle. The reputation of the Purple Sail Pirates is growing in this sea area. They have defeated the Roman army in Sicily. It is unknown how many merchant ships have been robbed by them. They are the most ferocious pirates nearby. Almost all of Levi's ships were robbed by them. Hearing the news of the Purple Sail Pirates, the guards were not nervous, but excited. They have been on the battlefield for a long time, so how could they be afraid of these little pirates? Notify everyone to prepare for battle. Order the ship to turn around and prepare to lure the enemy, Gita said to a bugler beside him, and the bugler immediately blew the curved copper horn. The sound of the copper horn resounded throughout the ship, and all the guards immediately took action. They put on armor, picked up shields and daggers, carried javelins on their backs, and waited quietly in the cabin. Even some of the oarsmen stopped and began to put on armor, ready to participate in the battle. The whole ship drew a big arc and began to turn backwards. At this time, the 3-er ship behind suddenly changed its course and crashed directly into the Black Pearl, which was turning. The sharp copper horns reflected the golden light in the sun, and some pirates could be vaguely seen shouting arrogantly at the bow. "Oh no, we're going to collide with the ship." "Sir, you should go back to the cabin first, otherwise you might fall into the sea," the captain said. Gita nodded. He also knew that he was a landlubber, so he got into the cabin. The captain kept issuing orders and adjusting the course of the ship, trying to minimize the damage caused by the collision. Boom! The 2 large ships collided heavily, and Gita and others only felt a huge shock in the ship. Some people fell directly to the ground, but fortunately they were in the cabin and did not have to worry about falling into the sea. "Shoot, shoot," Gita roared angrily. He was very sure that these people in front of him were here to rob this ship. The 5-layer warship in the west had shooting holes dug and was equipped with a large number of crossbows inside. Some guards immediately twisted the bowstrings and put rockets as thick as javelins. The arrows of the rockets were wrapped with hemp wool coated with sulfur and asphalt. These giant arrows could penetrate the hull of the enemy ship and then burn. After the rockets were ignited, they immediately burned and emitted a pungent smell. Bang, bang. After the hammers were smashed, the burning giant crossbows shot fiercely at the 3-layered ship. In order to prevent moisture, Some wooden boards of Western ships were often coated with flammable materials such as resin and pine tar. A large number of arrows hit the three-layered pirate ship, and the pirate ship immediately ignited thick smoke. Some places were already burning, and the pirates on the deck cursed. Some pirates began to put out the fire. Some pirates hooked the Black Pearl with grappling hooks, and several pirates picked up long sickle poles, which were a kind of sickle-like sharp weapon tied to a very long pole. They waved the sickle poles and cut the ropes that tied the sails. The captain watched all this quietly, and he did not stop it. After several efforts, they cut the cable on the Black Pearl, and the huge sail fell down. The speed of the Black Pearl immediately dropped at a speed visible to the naked eye. The pirates cheered, and some of them shouted arrogantly, thinking about how to retaliate against the sailors. The pirates pulled the hooks desperately, and the distance between the two ships was getting closer and closer. "You go and shoot arrows, and you have to cut off the hooks," Gita said to the sailors. "It is not the time to expose the escort team, so as to prevent the pirates from turning around and fleeing." The sailors came forward one after another. Some picked up axes and cut the tight ropes. Others used strong crossbows to shoot at the pirates on the deck of the three-oared ship, and arrows were shot at the pirates on the deck. Because they were high above, the pirates had nowhere to hide, and several pirates were shot by crossbows. The pirates cursed, and some fought back with javelins, but because of the protection of the ship's gang, they only shot one sailor who cut the rope. But the two ships were getting closer and closer, and finally they were close together. At this moment, a pirate jumped down from the tower of the three-decker ship and stepped heavily on the Black Pearl, looking at the sailors who seemed to be a little confused. The pirates laughed cruelly and uttered all kinds of dirty words as if they were looking at helpless little white rabbits. "We must peel your skin today." "No, I want to fuck your assholes." Then they rushed to kill the sailors. But they didn't realize that the sailors didn't seem to be afraid at all, but had pity in their eyes. Some other pirates used hooks, and some connected pedals to the Black Pearl, and then rushed onto the Black Pearl regardless of the bumps. Seeing this, Gita sneered and said, "The first and second 100 teams will attack and let those sailors retreat." Hearing this, the 200 teams, who had been thirsty for a long time, immediately rushed out of the cabin and killed the pirates. The pirates were a little unprepared for the guards who suddenly rushed out. Those guards were heavily armored and holding steel swords. Soon, dozens of pirates who rushed onto the deck were killed. Seeing this, the other pirates were shocked. How could there be so many guards on this ship? So they fled back desperately, and then cursed on their own ship, using all kinds of dirty words to make some guards very angry. But at this time, they could only endure it, because those big ships were getting closer and closer. At this time, the speed of the Black Pearl was greatly reduced, and it was chased by the pirate ship like a helpless girl. "Notify those ballistae to only shoot at the three-layered oars, not the purple sailing ship." "I must capture this ship today," Gita said with a sneer. "Yes, sir." Seeing the ballistae that kept shooting at the three-layered oars, some of the three-layered oars even emitted thick smoke. Instead of being angry, Lysak smiled and said, "It seems that our enemies are very tenacious." "Just a dying struggle," Pyrrhus said with a cruel face. Lysak agreed with this very much. No matter how tenacious this ship was, how could it be the opponent of so many pirate ships? The fleets of both sides were approaching rapidly, and Lysak was even imagining their desperate faces. "Archers, move forward, prepare your rockets, and aim at the sails of the 3 rowboats." Gita continued. After receiving Gita's order, the archers immediately stepped forward and stood on both sides of the boats. They bent their bows and aimed at the 3 rowboats rushing over from both sides. The people behind them lit the rockets for them, and the rockets burned one by one. "Shoot, shoot," Gita said. The archers immediately released their bowstrings, and from their high position, they threw rockets at the sails. The sails were very large, and some rockets easily hit the sails, and the sails immediately caught fire. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Naval Battle, Part 2. Seeing this, the pirates could not help but get furious. They dared to resist when the meat was right in front of them. They really didn't know how to live or die. Even so, they still didn't fire rockets, because they had already regarded the ship as their own. Even the purple sail pirates only had 2 5-layer warships, which were the main force among the main forces. This shows how precious this kind of ship is. They threw out grappling hooks one after another, and the grappling hooks hooked on the side of the Black Pearl. The distance between the Black Pearl and other large ships was getting closer and closer. The guards were still shooting rockets at the sails, and they had to burn their sails no matter what. "Back off, back off," Gaeta suddenly shouted loudly, because he found that some pirates were already ramming a suspended wooden pillar and were about to ram it. This is also a naval weapon, a slender square of wood that was suspended and wrapped with iron sheets at both ends. When ramming into the enemy ship, some can even ram through the enemy ship. After receiving Gaeta's order, the archers retreated immediately. The pirates shouted in unison, and the ramming pillars rammed the Black Pearl fiercely. Gaeta only felt the ship shaking constantly, and he even felt unstable, and finally sat down on the ship. Because the Black Pearl was taller, the ramming columns directly crashed through the hull and destroyed some cabins. But for the huge Black Pearl, this damage was not enough to be afraid of. Then there were more vibrations, and some 3-layered oars had already approached the Black Pearl, and some pirates couldn't wait to jump down from the tower. "Lower the drawbridge, quickly," Lysax said. At this time, the purple sailboat also arrived at the stern of the Black Pearl. A pirate untied the rope with a grim smile. With a bang, the crow drawbridge on the purple sail ship quickly fell to the Black Pearl, and the iron nails on it pierced the deck of the Black Pearl fiercely, and the 2 large ships were tightly connected together. Lysax and Pyrrhus showed smug smiles on their faces, and Gaeta also laughed. "All of you, come on, come on," a pirate leader shouted. A large number of pirates rushed to the Black Pearl through the crow drawbridge, and more pirates appeared on the Black Pearl. To their surprise, the sailors and guards did not show any panic. At this time, more fully armed Roman soldiers rushed out of the cabin and quickly killed the pirates. Guards of the Levi family. Pyrrhus gritted his teeth and said that there was a difference between those guards and Roman soldiers. The biggest difference was the family emblem. Moreover, these guards were tough. Many people died every time they robbed Levi's transport ship. "Kill them. As long as they kill them, all the wealth of this ship will be ours," a pirate leader shouted loudly. The pirates rushed towards the guards enthusiastically, but after only a few battles, they found something wrong because there were a lot of notches on their daggers. "No, their daggers are all steel swords worth thousands of dinars," a pirate said in horror. This discovery made him timid and he dared not collide with the opponent's dagger. But the soldier on the opposite side was unforgiving and forced him to retreat again and again, and finally retreated to the side of the ship with no way to retreat. The pirate gritted his teeth and fell backwards into the sea. The guard looked at him speechlessly. "You are awesome, I surrender." The 2 sides fought fiercely, and Levi's guards firmly occupied the upper hand with their excellent equipment, skilled martial arts and tacit cooperation. Because the pirates had to cross the suspension bridge and were worried about falling into the sea, they did not wear armor or had very little armor, which gave Levi's guards a great advantage. They chopped the armor with their swords and the guards were fine, but Levi's guards stabbed and a hole was made. Seeing the pirates being killed and retreating again and again, Lysax was a little anxious. "Come on, we have a lot of people, and the reward for killing one person is 1,000 dinars. The swords in their hands could be sold for at least 2,000 dinars, so they would make a profit no matter how they calculated it. As the saying goes, there must be brave men under a big reward." Hearing this, the pirates desperately killed the guards. "You are really looking for death. Kill them," Aeneas said with contempt. The 2 sides fought more fiercely, and more pirates died on the deck. The deck was full of pirates' bodies, and there was no place to stand. On the contrary, the loss of the guards was minimal. Pyrrhus and Lysax realized that they had encountered a real tough guy. At first, the pirates fought with blood and courage, but after seeing more and more people fall, they no longer had the courage to fight, but retreated one after another. "Go, come on," Pyrrhus roared angrily. These pirates were too incompetent. So many people couldn't beat such a small enemy. Don't you think they have too many people? And their equipment is too good. Lysax's eyes flashed with a gleam of light. Hearing this, Pyrrhus' heart moved slightly. Yes, ordinary transport ships would not be equipped with so many guards. More than 100 is considered too many, but there are more than 300 people in front of them, and more guards rushed out of the cabin, and generally they are not all equipped with steel swords. Levi has very strict control over steel swords, because there have been cases where guards have escaped with steel swords. Catch them. At this time, Gaeta pointed at Pyrrhus and said, it was obvious that his shouting just now attracted his attention. Seeing Gaeta, Pyrrhus was shocked. It was him, Levi's #1 subordinate, the commander of the 1st Legion of Capua. How could he personally escort the goods? No, this is a trap. Levi would never send him out casually. Retreat, everyone retreat. This is a trap. That person is Gaeta, Pyrrhus shouted. I didn't expect that someone would recognize me. This is really interesting. Gaeta grinned. Trap. This is actually a trap. Hearing this, the morale of the pirates dropped sharply. They had no intention of fighting and fled back. Pyrrhus and Lysax took the lead and fled back to the 5-layer warship first. Just when they thought they had escaped, a crow bridge fell down fiercely, smashing a big hole in the deck of the purple-sailed ship. A piece of wooden board fragments passed through Pyrrhus' face, leaving a bloody mark on his face. Pyrrhus was still in shock. Just now, he was only 2 Roman steps away from the crow bridge. One by one, Roman soldiers rushed onto the purple-sailed ship through the crow bridge and rushed towards Pyrrhus and Lysax. Seeing this, Pyrrhus and Lysax were scared to death. Lysax gritted his teeth, rushed to the bow and jumped into the sea. Seeing this, Pyrrhus also jumped into the sea, and then swam to a 3-rowed ship next to him. Chapter 204, Total Annihilation. Seeing this, Pyrrhus also jumped into the sea, and then swam to a 3-row ship next to him. Damn it, a guard cursed viciously. He was wearing armor all over his body. If he jumped into the sea, he would only sink into the sea. He could only kill other pirates. At this time, the guards had already jumped to those 3-row ships. Because they were in a high position, it was very easy. After resisting, some pirates found that they were no match for the enemy and had to jump into the sea. Anyway, this is the Strait of Messina, not far from the land on both sides. There was only one 3-row ship, and because there was really no place to jump, they could only watch from the outside. Looking at this extremely terrifying scene, they were all glad that they did not go up. They were about to leave, but because the sails were burned, they could not speed up. Fortunately, the Black Pearl was connected to the purple sailboat by the Black Crow suspension bridge, and they could not catch up at all. Is there any way to stop them from escaping? Gaeta said unwillingly. Yes, said the captain. Soon a small boat was hoisted down, and the oarsmen desperately waved their oars, rowing quickly towards the 3-row ship in the high waves. Seeing this, the pirates panicked, and they found the axe on the small boat. They knew that this was a common tactic in naval battles, that is, to cut the rudder rope with an axe. Once the rudder rope was cut and the boat snake was lost, the ship could only drift helplessly on the sea. The pirates went crazy, and they tried every means to prevent the small boat from approaching. Arrows, javelins, stones and even lead balls, even if there were soldiers on the small boat with shields for protection, still caused huge casualties to the soldiers on the small boat. In the end, the small boat could only helplessly watch the 3-row ship slowly leave. After being rescued on the 3-row ship, Pyrrhus felt a little scared, and he almost died this time. But fortunately, with the blessing of the gods, he finally escaped. At this time, a fleet consisting of 5-row ships and some transport ships appeared in the distance. A familiar trumpet sounded, and the 5-layered ship led the fleet to approach here quickly. Seeing this, all the pirates were stunned. How could this be? Without the sails, they could not escape the pursuit of the enemy. Pyrrhus smiled helplessly. It seemed that the goddess of luck did not bless him. He jumped into the sea again. An hour later, 2 3-layered ships were on fire, and a large number of corpses and various debris were floating on the sea. After the great victory, Levi immediately ordered people to start interrogating the prisoners. "Ah!" a pirate screamed extremely shrilly, and SYNOPSIS stabbed his dagger through his palm in the deck, and directly pierced a hole in the deck. A sailor wanted to stop him, but he opened his mouth and said nothing in the end. "Tell me, what is your name?" SYNOPSIS said slowly. "My name is—" "You are too slow to answer." SYNOPSIS smiled. "Ah!" the pirate screamed again. SYNOPSIS stepped hard on his ankle. The pirate felt that his ankle was broken. "I, SYNOPSIS, admire tough guys the most in my life. Don't be so cowardly and let me look down on you." SYNOPSIS showed an excited smile on his face. The scars on his face twisted like tadpoles, and he looked like a real villain. The pirate looked at him in shock and fear. "This is a damn madman, dead pervert," SYNOPSIS muttered, but did not stop him. "Now each ship is like hell on earth." The guards began to torture the captured pirates, trying to ask them about their secrets. There were screams everywhere. Some pirates had even had some parts cut off by them. The bloody smell and screams mixed together, making some people feel uncomfortable, but some people were more excited. SYNOPSIS was obviously the latter. "Don't torture me. Whatever you ask, I will tell you everything," the pirate begged. "You bastard, can't you just let me have some fun?" SYNOPSIS kicked him angrily. The pirate almost vomited blood in anger. "I summoned all of them, but you just wanted to torture me." Not long after, the results of various interrogations were summarized on Levi's ship. gladiator boarded Levi's warship to report to him about the battle. After knowing that the losses in this battle were not great, Levi was relieved and then asked a pirate leader with the highest status, "What's your name? Where are you from?" "Cassius, a Silesian," the pirate leader said with blood on his face. "Where is your lair?" "It's on an island about 80 Roman miles southwest of here." "I can take you there, but I only ask you to let me go," the pirate begged bitterly. "Asshole, answer whatever the admiral asks. Don't add any nonsense." At this time, a guard kicked him hard and said, and he fell down. "I know, I'm sorry," the pirate said quickly. Although the pirates looked extremely pitiful, Levi knew that they had countless lives on their hands, and it would not be a loss to kill them. "How many people do you have?" Levi continued to ask. "Nearly 5,000 people, including more than 4,000 young and strong, but many of them are slaves, and less than 2,500 can really fight." "And they lost a lot of people in this battle." "They died 325 people and captured 852 people." Among the prisoners, there were 380 slave rowers. "Many of them jumped into the sea and we couldn't catch them," gladiator said. "Then what about Camillus?" "That is my father-in-law." "Is he on that island?" Levi asked. "Yes, that Pyrrhus wanted to kill him, but I said a good word for him, so he was spared," the pirate said. Levi looked contemptuous. "What kind of good words? But he just wanted to blackmail me." "They are not good people, but fortunately, my father-in-law is fine. As long as he is fine, speed is of the essence." "Pass my order. The fleet will turn southwest and prepare to attack the pirates' island," Levi said. "Yes, Admiral," Lysis said. After receiving Levi's order, the entire fleet immediately changed course and headed southwest at full speed. On a small island about 80 Roman miles southwest of Sicily, several pirates were chatting on a watchtower at the dock, and from time to time they told jokes that all men understood, and laughed obscenely. At this moment, a pirate suddenly discovered something. "Look, what is that?" the pirate said. The pirates looked over and found several huge ships sailing towards them. "It's our ship," a pirate said excitedly. He found the huge purple-sailed ship. "Why are there so many more ships? Didn't they say they were going to rob Levi's transport ship?" Chapter 205 Pirate Lair. "They must have come across other valuable targets and made a move. It looks like the battle was very intense. There seems to be a fire on the Black Shark." "Yes, wait. Look at the bow." "What is that?" a pirate said in doubt. As the distance got closer, he seemed to see a person standing on the bow. "No, not standing on the bow, but tied to the bow." "It's a person. He seems to be tied to a cross," a pirate said. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. "Is this a prank by someone, or is there another reason?" "It seems that pirates will be nailed to the cross if they are caught. Generally, Pirates are very taboo about such jokes. Wait, that person seems to be Cassius. Impossible. You are not mistaken. This should. No way. The distance is really a bit far. Cassius, the captain of the Black Shark, is a real high-level pirate. Was he crucified because he offended Lysax, or for other reasons? I think something is wrong. We should notify others. A pirate said. Okay, that's it. The other pirates also felt that it was getting weirder and weirder, so the pirate went back to the town to report the news. Soon the town's alarm bells rang, and a large number of pirates rushed over. But when they arrived at the dock, they found that a large number of pirates were running from the dock with terrified faces. What happened? A pirate leader asked a pirate. The Roman army is coming. The Roman army is coming. A pirate said in horror. Didn't you say the boss is back? The pirate leader said angrily. This it may be our ship was captured by them. The pirate said timidly. This is impossible. Even the Roman army is no match for the general. The pirate leader roared angrily. Lysax once led the pirates to defeat the army of the governor of Sicily. This has always been the most proud thing of this pirate group. It is precisely because of this that the number of pirates has increased and become a famous pirate. The pirate was about to cry. He saw with his own eyes a large number of Roman troops coming down from the purple-sailed giant ship. If this is not being captured, what is it? How many people are there? The pirate leader thought for a moment and asked. There should be only more than 1,000 people. Let's go back and gather our men. Don't be afraid of the Roman army. If we can defeat them once, we can defeat them a second time. The pirate leader raised his arm and shouted. The pirates shouted and followed the pirate leader to the castle. The pirate's heart was extremely hot. In fact, he was still a little skeptical about the pirate's words. But if Lysax was really captured, then the entire pirate group would need a new leader. Assuming that he could defeat this Roman army, he would be able to become the new pirate leader. At this time, Levi's warships and transport ships had already docked at the dock. One by one, the guards walked from the ships to the dock and then lined up in neat teams. When Levi walked down from the ship, all the guards saluted collectively. Long live Levi! Long live Levi! Long live Levi! After Levi's constant training, this army became more and more like the army of later generations. Report to the master. Our army should have 1,800 people, and the actual number is 1,689, Gaeta said. Levi nodded. The 3rd Brigade and the craftsmen will stay to guard the ship, and the others will follow me. Yes, master. Levi led 2 brigades to the center of the island. When he was on the ship, he had already discovered the town. The scenery along the way was picturesque, and there were even some wheat fields. At this time, a ragged man rushed out of the wheat field. Seeing this, several guards hurriedly stopped Levi. Stop! Who are you? Don't move. Are you Roman soldiers? I am a Roman citizen. Please save me and take me away from here, the man said excitedly. Roman citizen? How did you get here? Levi asked. Once my whole family was on a ship to Egypt, but the ship was stopped by them, and we all became captives. They wanted a ransom, but I couldn't afford it. If I hadn't been able to repair weapons, they would have killed me. But my wife and daughter were taken away by them. At this point, he burst into tears. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but get angry. This damn pirate group. How many people like you are imprisoned here? Levi asked. A lot. There are more than 200 Romans alone, and some people from other countries, and even more slaves. The man said. Got it? You follow us, Levi said. At this time, more and more slaves rushed out of the farmland. They all thought that Levi was sent by Rome to rescue them, but unfortunately they didn't know that this was just a side job. Levi asked people to gather them up and follow behind, and then continued to move towards the town. Not long after, he found a large number of pirates in front of him. They were rushing towards this side in a mess. What are they doing? Are they here to die? Levi couldn't help but say. There are a lot of these people, at least more than 2,000, and they may have gathered some slaves as well. But what's the use of this? Can more people defeat his men? But soon his face changed, because he found that the pirates had begun to line up. Although the formation was not complete, It was indeed an ancient Roman phalanx. It seems that their leader Lysax has been training them in the way of the Roman army. Gita said, "It's really interesting. I didn't expect to meet such a visionary pirate." No wonder they were able to defeat the Roman army in Sicily, Levi thought, but soon he found that these pirates were too stupid. They lined up at such a close distance. "Aren't you looking for death? Pass the order down. The whole army attacks," Levi said. After receiving Levi's order, the guards of the two battalions immediately rushed towards the instigating pirates. "Be quiet, line up, the enemy is coming soon," a pirate leader roared. But the pirate's formation was still messy. He was just a pirate captain, and there were several pirate leaders of the same level as him. If there was no powerful enemy, they might have fought for the position of leader. "Oh no, they are coming," a pirate said. "Everyone, go ahead and kill these Romans," a black pirate leader said. Upon hearing this, some of his pirates immediately followed him and rushed out. "Assholes, stupid, how can you fight the enemy when you can't even get your formation in place?" A pirate leader who thought he was an expert in military tactics cursed bitterly. Chapter 206 Rescue. But soon he became even angrier. Some pirate leaders ordered to follow up, while some stayed where they were, causing the entire pirate formation to become a mess. "Waste. What a bunch of waste." The pirate leader cursed again. The pirates under his command looked at him eagerly, and said, "Everyone, come on, don't embarrass me, or I will kill him," the pirate leader said. Hearing this, the pirates immediately swarmed over. Their number was at least twice that of the enemy, and they didn't believe that they were not the enemy's opponent. Seeing this, Levi and others were speechless. Just now they were praised for their skills, but now it seems that they are indeed a group of pirates. "Stop moving forward, archers and slingers, move forward," Levi said. The bugle sounded, and the two teams stopped moving immediately. Archers and slingers stepped forward to the front of the team, and the crossbowmen bent their bows and aimed at the pirates. Due to the rush of time, or the lack of armor, only some people put on armor, and most of them rushed over here in ordinary clothes. Livius had a cold smile on his face, as if he had foreseen the one-sided massacre. "Shoot!" Aeneas shouted. As the legion leaders went to Rome to become quaestors and tribunes of the people, Aeneas's status became higher and higher, and he became one of the military tribunes of the guard. Moreover, he has been absent as the tribune of the people for the next year. After March next year, he will go to Rome to officially take up this position. Rounds of arrows were shot out, and the pirates screamed. The penetrating power of the dread crossbow is amazing. It can completely penetrate a person's body within 50 meters. The crossbowman fired a round of arrows every 3 seconds. Faced with this continuous rain of arrows, the pirates soon became afraid. This was completely different from fighting in a naval battle. They had never encountered such a dense rain of arrows. "Attack!" Seeing that the enemy had no morale, Livius gave the order to attack. "Run!" some pirates said in fear, throwing down their weapons and fleeing to the town. Some fled to other places. As the saying goes, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Some pirates had hidden small boats in some secret places, so they were not afraid even if the Roman army came. What followed was a one-sided massacre. Not long after, Levi followed them to occupy the town. Before the war was over, Levi led 100 men to the dungeon. He killed a few blind pirates, took the key from the body of a pirate, and then opened the door. An unpleasant smell mixed with various smells hit him. Levi and his 100 men walked in together, and a typical dungeon appeared in front of them. There were all kinds of people in the dark dungeon, including Romans, blacks, and Phoenicians. Some of them had numb faces and wooden expressions, while others were terrified. Seeing the guards in neat armor, some prisoners stood up, and their faces showed surprised smiles. "Excuse me, are you from the Roman army? Are you here to rescue us? Please save me. If you save me, I will repay you." All kinds of people stretched out their arms desperately, looking at Levi and his men eagerly. "Take your men to rescue them," Levi said to a decapitator. The decapitator nodded and said loudly, "Remember that the one who came to rescue you is Admiral Levi of Campania. He has led his own guard to eliminate the pirates. From now on, you are safe." Ignoring the cheers of the hostages, he led his men directly to the deepest part of the dungeon. Not long after, he found Camillus, who had lost a lot of weight. The movement outside had already alarmed him, and he was overjoyed when he saw Levi and others. "Dear Levi, you came to save me." "Yes, my dear father-in-law. In order to save you, I mobilized nearly 2,000 people. Do you know how many people I have owed you?" Levi couldn't help but say. Hearing this, Camillus was really angry. "If it weren't for you, do you think they would come to arrest me? That Pyrrhus was targeting you specifically, and I was the one who was implicated." Camillus felt extremely wronged. If it weren't for Levi, he probably wouldn't have ended up like this. Not only did he live in fear for more than half a month, but he was also blamed by Levi. "Targeting me specifically? Tell me about his situation." Levi's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a dangerous light. So Camillus told his experience, and combined with the intelligence of those pirates, Levi believed that this Pyrrhus must have a deep hatred for him. Although he didn't know his specific identity, he felt that he had to eliminate this dangerous person as soon as possible. Otherwise he might be bitten at any time if this person was watching him in the dark. Everyone rescued Camillus from the prison and walked outside. The battle in the town has come to an end, and many pirates have fled. At this time, Camillus asked, "By the way, where are my goods?" "It hasn't been long, so my goods should not have been sold yet." "More than half a month has passed, and your goods are almost sold out," Levi said. "That's impossible." "Levi, you are not trying to embezzle my goods to compensate for your losses?" Camillus screamed immediately. "Damn, your brain is so fast, you guessed my purpose so quickly." Ahem. "You also know that I lost a lot of people in this expedition, and some were injured. These are my personal guards, and I need to pay for their pensions. Some of them are disabled and I have to support them for life." Levi said. "What does this have to do with me? You are the admiral of Campania, and it is your responsibility to eliminate pirates. If you want my money, you have to kill me," Camillus said angrily. Levi was so angry that he wanted to pick up a knife and stab him. He was too shameless. He had never seen such a shameless person. If he had known earlier, he should have let the pirates kill him. "Look carefully where this is. This is 80 Roman miles southwest of Sicily. Is this my defense zone? If it weren't for you, I would take such a big risk to come to rescue people," Levi said angrily. This. Camillus thought about it and it seemed to be the same, but how could he pay for it? "The cost of sending troops will be recorded in Amelia's account. You can ask her for it later. I tell you, all the goods are mine," Camillus said. "I surrender. I really surrender, father-in-law." The kind of worship that kowtows to the ground. Seeing that Levi had no way to deal with Camillus, many guards almost laughed out loud, and finally had to hold back. At this time, Aeneas came over. "Master, come and take a look." At this time, Aeneas said to Levi. Chapter 207 Return. "What happened?" Levi asked. "Those pirates captured a lot of women, and they treated them as prostitutes," Aeneas said angrily. Levi followed him to another cell and found hundreds of women being held naked in some cells. Their expressions were blank and their faces were ashen. Even though many guards stood in front of them, they seemed not to see them. Only a few dozen women were looking at them in surprise. They knew these people. These were Roman soldiers. They were saved. "Excuse me. Are you a Roman soldier?" A young woman with scars on her body and dust on her face said. "Yes, I am Lucius Bossius Levi, the governor of Campania. I came here to rescue the hostages," Levi said with a smile. "Wow." Hearing this, the woman immediately burst into tears. Several other women followed suit and soon there was a cry here. Levi sighed, and the guards were cursing. Although they were cruel, they had never treated women like this. "All those pirates must be put to death." Lysias clenched his fists angrily and said. Levi nodded. These pirates were really too much. At the dock of Naples, huge ships docked one after another. Guards escorted the pirates down, and then some rescued hostages. When they saw Naples, many people lost their voices in pain. Seeing this, many citizens of Naples asked what happened. "Of course our master defeated the Purple Sail pirates, captured thousands of pirates and a large number of slaves, and then rescued a large number of hostages," a guard said. "It turned out to be the Purple Sail pirates? You really defeated the Purple Sail pirates?" some citizens said in shock. The Purple Sail pirates were the strongest pirates near Italy and were famous for defeating the Sicilian army. Of course, If you don't believe me, ask those hostages. The guard said proudly. The news that Levi defeated the purple sail pirates flew out like wings and spread everywhere. But soon, more explosive news came out. Levi ordered people to prepare crosses on the coast of Naples. He wanted to crucify all the pirates on the cross. This made Naples and even the Roman citizens who knew the news applaud. Pirates are actually very serious, not to mention the citizens living on the coast. Even the Roman citizens in the interior suffered from it. Moreover, a large number of grain ships in Egypt and Syria were intercepted by these pirates, which caused the grain prices in Rome to soar. Some places even suffered from famine. Although Rome organized a small-scale bandit suppression, it was not very effective because the Mediterranean was too large and the pirates were too rampant. Levi, can I take over these pirates? I want to interrogate these pirates carefully and ask about the whereabouts of the Grand Justice Boldness. Before leaving Naples, the Naples administrator Coponius came to the door. I think you don't need it. The Grand Justice has been killed by them, Levi said lightly. When he was on the ship, he had already asked the pirates. After knowing that he was killed by them, he ordered the pirate to be nailed to the bow. What did you say? This is simply too hateful. You must kill them to avenge the Grand Inquisitor. Coponius said angrily. Don't worry, they will pay for their crimes. Levi said. Can I meet these pirates? Some citizens of Naples have also been kidnapped by them. I want to confirm their situation. Coponius continued. Well, okay, tell me, who do you want to see? Levi looked at him deeply and said, of course, the higher the level, the better. Coponius said as a matter of course. Okay, I'll send you two tomorrow. Remember not to let them run away. What are their names? I'm not sure. They must be very high level. Wait, it's best to be the leader of the purple sail pirates, Lysax, and the deputy leader, Pyrrhus. Don't worry, they haven't been caught. Levi smiled and patted his shoulder. That's good. No, Levi, what do you mean? Coponius's face changed quickly. I'm sorry, I spoke out of turn. Please forgive me. Levi said. Haha, forget it. Remember to send them here as soon as possible. Coponius laughed dryly, said a few more words and left in a hurry. Not long after he left, Morris popped out from a corner. Are you sure this matter has something to do with Coponius? Levi asked. If I was 20% sure before, now I am 40% sure. Morris said. Reason? Levi asked. In addition to the dock official being his confidant, we also found some pirates' stolen goods being sold in Naples, and these stolen goods have some legal procedures. Morris said. This is not enough, Levi said. In recent years, Coponius has become very wealthy. He has held many gladiator competitions to please the people of Naples, but we can't find his legal source of income. He did not borrow money from those money merchants, nor did he accept bribes. All Naples knows that he is an honest official. Morris said. Anything else? Yes, he has a nephew named Tiberius Laelius, who is also a Roman noble. Because he opposed Sulla, he was listed as a public enemy of Rome. His property was confiscated. His parents died tragically, and then he disappeared. It is said that the Laelius family and the Scipio family have been friendly for generations, and Laelius and Nasica Scipio have a very good relationship, just like brothers. Morris said. It is actually related to Scipio. It seems that there is a lot of water here. Levi showed a meaningful smile on his face. He thought of the people who appeared next to Lepidus. Maybe he still has a connection with Lepidus. By the way, why does this name sound familiar? I shouldn't have seen him, Levi thought, stroking his chin. Morris opened his mouth and finally said, the villa you live in on Palatine Hill now is his, and you also bought several fields from his family at a low price. Levi couldn't help but open his mouth wide. So that's it, but this hatred is really a bit big. No wonder he always stares at himself. I understand. Collect evidence quickly and kill Coponius when necessary, Levi said. Although he had some influence in Naples, it was not enough to bring down Coponius. He needed a lot of evidence and then report the matter directly to the Senate. I understand, Morris said. On the pirate island, Pyrrhus and Lysax looked at the town that was burned to ruins with unhappy faces. Years of accumulation turned to ashes in one day. No matter who it was, it would not be good. Chapter 208. Death of Sura. It's over, Our plan is over, Pyrrhus said dejectedly. I can go back to Cilicia to recruit some more pirates. There are plenty of people willing to follow me as long as they have money, Lysax said at this time. Hearing this, Pyrrhus' eyes lit up. How many people can you recruit? It depends on how many ships you can support and how much money you have, Lysax said with a smile. Pyrrhus cursed inwardly. If he hadn't heard that he was familiar with the people in Cilicia and had a wide network of contacts, he would have thrown him aside and worked alone. We can support you with 5 3-layered ships and 100,000 dinars, Pyrrhus said. What can this little money do? You are really too stingy. If you want to do big things, you have to be willing to spend money, Lysax said dissatisfiedly. Our money is not blown by the wind, and our property has been occupied by Sulla's subordinates. We can't get the money for a while. In the past, let alone 1 million dinars, even 5 million can be easily taken out, Pyrrhus said. At least 300,000 plus 10 transport ships. I guarantee to recruit 4,000 elite pirates, Lysax said. You promise? Pyrrhus said with a puzzled look. If this money can recruit so many pirates, it will definitely be a huge profit. Of course, no problem at all, Lysax said. I hope to go to Cilicia with you, Pyrrhus said. Haha, you don't believe me? Lysax said with a smile. Of course not. I just want to go to Cilicia to see it and make some friends there, Pyrrhus said. Okay, no problem. I can even introduce you to a few great nobles in Pontus. Now Pontus has been supporting the pirates in Cilicia, Lysax said seemingly unintentionally. Do you know nobles in Pontus? Pyrrhus said with a shocked face. Of course, Lysax said with a smile. They are my big money sponsors. Without their support, I dare not say that I can recruit 4,000 elite pirates. That's great. I need some time to prepare. I plan to bring them some gifts, Pyrrhus said with a big laugh. It would be great if we could contact the nobles of Pontus. Sado's career in Spain is full of difficulties, and Lepidus is under full suppression by Sulla's forces. If we can contact Pontus and the pirates, the 4 parties will definitely be able to overthrow Sulla's forces with joint efforts. No problem. Lysax showed a meaningful smile at the corner of his mouth. Dragon City. After the pirates were wiped out, there was a jubilant scene everywhere. Levi distributed a lot of the spoils, and he really didn't care about these small amounts of money. But not long after, Cerebio suddenly sent a slave to come. What did you say? Lepidus wants me to go to the Senate to be questioned, saying why I left the defense zone without permission, and whether the Capua garrison was mobilized. Hearing this, Levi sneered. Yes, but many senators expressed their opposition, and it ended up in nothing. But my master is worried that he will not give up easily, and may accuse you at the citizens' assembly, so you should prepare in advance. The slave sent by Cerebio said. I see, it seems that he is really determined to do something. Levi felt sick. It was really unpleasant to always feel that someone was plotting against you. In a villa in Cuma, Sulla was also having a conversation with Hadrianus. Are you sure that Levi did not use the garrison of Capua? Our people sent news that he did not, but only used his own guards. Hadrianus said. That's good. Although it is wrong to leave your own defense zone without permission, it is just a small mistake and nothing serious. Tell the people in the Senate to fully support Levi and not give Lepidus any chance, Sulla said with a sneer. As you command. After Hadrianus left, Sulla continued to write the memoirs. At this time, Valeria came over and gently touched his shoulder. Can't you take a break? You coughed up so much blood yesterday. You don't know how scary it is. I have a feeling that I don't have much time left. I must finish writing my memoirs, otherwise I'm afraid I will never finish it, Sulla said with a smile. Don't say such things. I believe that the gods will bless you, Valeria said. Sulla shook his head and continued to write. It must be said that the paper Levi made was really good. It felt much better to write on than papyrus. At this time, his expression paused, and then he coughed violently and spit out a mouthful of blood. The bright red blood stained the true god paper red, and then Sulla kept coughing and spitting blood mouthful by mouthful. His cough attracted Valeria's attention, and when she found out all this, she screamed in fear. Cough. It's okay. I can still hold on. Cough. Call Faustus and Fausta over, Sulla said with blood in his mouth. Okay, go and call the doctor, Valeria screamed to a slave, and the slave rushed out. You must hold on. "The doctor will be here soon," Valeria said with a look of horror. "Go and call Faustus and Fausta." "Are my words useless?" Sulla said angrily. Valeria had no choice but to go to Sulla's children, and Sulla opened the bloody page of the true God paper and wrote his will. Who should he entrust his children to? Sulla thought about it for a long time, and finally chose Lucullus. Although Livius was much stronger than Lucullus, he always felt that Livius was a dangerous person, and he might become the second Marius or himself. What he wanted was for his children to live a safe life, not for them to fight for fame and fortune. When Valeria brought Faustus and Fausta here, they found that Sulla had fallen on the table, completely losing his breath, leaving only a will on the table. Sulla's death spread like a gust of wind, shaking the whole of Rome and even the Mediterranean. The lifelong dictator and butcher was finally dead, and countless people breathed a sigh of relief. Even Livy was no exception. Only then did he realize that Sulla still put considerable pressure on him. Some people were so excited that they couldn't help themselves. Sulla was dead, and the dark clouds weighing on their hearts disappeared, and they could finally take action. In the Roman Senate, some people had a fierce argument about Sulla's funeral. "I think Sulla should be given a state funeral. Sulla has made countless military achievements. He has made great contributions in the Jugurthine War and the Germanic Invasion War. He also went on expeditions to Greece and Asia and defeated the rebellious Greeks and the Pontic army. His achievements are enough for him to be given a state funeral," Senator Lucullus said loudly. Chapter 209 Controversy. "I object. Sulla does not hold any public office now and has no right to a state funeral," a senator said, "and Sulla's 2 marches into Rome set a very bad precedent and killed a large number of Roman nobles and knights. He is a complete dictator and does not deserve a state funeral. He is a butcher, an executioner." "You old bastard, why didn't you say it when Sulla was alive? You dared to say it after he died." "I think you are a coward," Dolabella said loudly. You Dorabella, please pay attention to your image, otherwise, be careful that the censor will impeach you. Dolabella's remarks made the senator so angry that he almost fainted. "Don't give me that. A sinister villain is a sinister villain," Dolabella said disdainfully. "Anyway, he has listed thousands of Roman citizens, nobles, and knights as public enemies of Rome. He is indeed guilty of many crimes. I firmly oppose a state funeral for him, and I think those exiled nobles should be rehabilitated and all of them should be recalled." At this time, another senator said, "Let's wait until the Citizens' Assembly votes on this matter. We don't have the final say." Sarabio said angrily, "Yes, let's wait until the Citizens' Assembly votes on it. I remember that the time for the Citizens' Assembly is almost up. Let's see the truth at the Citizens' Assembly." Lepidus laughed. Sarabio and others were all livid. If Sulla had not died, many Roman citizens would be afraid of Sulla and might not dare to support Lepidus and others. But now that Sulla is dead, Rome is increasingly returning to the old track. At least the Roman citizens are very eager for the wheat law. They will definitely support Lepidus with all their strength. Things are not good. Things did not go as they expected. Whenever Lepidus gave a speech in the square, there would always be enthusiastic cheers from the people. It seemed that the Sulla faction would fail completely, which made the elders of the Sulla faction worried. On the contrary, due to the rising public opinion of the plebeians, some elders of the Sulla faction even began to show goodwill to Lepidus, intending to jump off the Sulla faction, which was about to fall apart. This dealt a fatal blow to the upcoming Citizens' Assembly, so Sarabio sent someone to tell Levi the news again. "Someone defected so soon?" Levi said very unhappily. "What a group of short-sighted guys." At the beginning, Sulla divided the work and cooperated with the citizens going to Rome. Some people paid money and some people worked hard. Once someone defected, then these things would inevitably be messed up. Can those exiled nobles come back and take back their own property? Of course not. Those properties have been donated by Levi to the church or Longcheng school. This is the core of his own business and cannot be given up anyway. At this time, a lot of voices suddenly came from outside. "Report to the master. Many officers are outside asking for an audience." The guard standing outside said at this time, "Let them in," Levi said. Not long after, hundreds of officers followed Geta, Plautus and others in. "Master, our Lepidus is likely to win the Citizens' Assembly, and those exiled nobles will come back to take back their land. Geta said. Yes, this possibility is very high, Levi said with a headache. Master, we must not let them succeed. We have fought for so many years to get such a small amount of land. How can we let them take it back? We will never agree. Geta roared. As the former commander of the 1st Legion of Capua, Geta still lives in Dragon City, but he has the most land allocated to him. Of course, he cannot tolerate so many nobles taking back their land. That's right, we will never agree. Aeneas and others also shouted loudly. They were all people who were allocated a lot of land, and of course they could not tolerate this. Hundreds of officers roared, which scared Levi. Levi was furious. Are you trying to force the emperor to abdicate? But soon he thought of something. Yes, he could use this opportunity to direct something. He kept thinking, and a plan soon appeared in his mind. You are right, we really can't agree to this. Levi smiled and said, leave this matter to me, just listen to my orders. Everyone took a look and said loudly, respect the order of the lord of the family. The dispute in the Roman Senate spread to all directions through the Roman daily. The news that Lepidus's proposal to recall the exiled nobles and return their property was likely to win in the citizens' assembly caused many people to worry, especially in the veteran colony cities established by Sulla. This matter has been widely spread. Whether it is a city or a village, the Roman daily is posted everywhere, with analysis of these things written on it. After learning the news, Sulla's veterans were all shocked and angry. They are all the owners of those properties. If those properties are returned, each of them will suffer heavy losses and even be displaced. At this time, a piece of news spread in these colonial cities. Levi planned to plead for everyone, but he lacked support. Hearing this, a large number of veterans traveled hundreds of miles to Longchain to petition Levi, hoping that he could come forward to take care of this matter. Master, you must make the decision for us. I fought with you for 2 years for Sulla, and even my feet became lame. I finally got a little land and made a living. If the land is taken back, I will have to live on the streets, a centurion said pitifully. Hearing this, Levi raised his eyebrows. Because of his bravery in battle, this centurion was given a lot of land, and he also bought at least a dozen slaves to farm the land. His life was so comfortable. It was not as miserable as he said, but he still looked heartbroken. You are right, but you all know my situation. Lepidus is going to sue me at the citizens' assembly recently, and I cannot leave the defense zone without permission, otherwise it will be another crime. That bastard Lepidus, he disguised himself as Sulla's confidant back then. Now he wants to seize our land. He really deserves death. We have all discussed it. This time we will not leave when we go to Rome, unless Lepidus gives up the prosecution against you and publicly apologizes to you. Another military tribune said solemnly. This military tribune was a legion under Sulla, and many of them came to Dragon City after hearing the news. Hearing this, Levi was more satisfied, but he still looked reserved. This is not good. Camillus, who was not far away, looked contemptuous, pretending. Keep pretending. What's wrong with it? We have already discussed it. This time we must let you vent your anger. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Gathering. Some veterans had already started throwing tantrums, forcing Levi to do justice. Seeing these ugly men throwing tantrums, Pepper, who was not far away, almost laughed. Levi glared at her, and Pepper quickly stopped laughing. Levi coughed lightly and said helplessly, well, I will offend the Senate and the consuls this time to do justice for everyone. Hearing this, the veterans immediately cheered and flattered Levi in all kinds of shameless ways. It must be said that rough people don't know how to be subtle. They flattered even Levi, and soon Levi called some centurions and military tribunes under his command. Aeneas, you personally take people to hand my relatives over to our military tribunes and centurions in Pompeii. Yes, master, Aeneas said. Sinas, go to Praeneste and show them my letter. I hope they can gather their forces as soon as possible and wait for my arrival. Yes, master. Levi wrote 10 letters and asked them to accompany the veterans back to the old veterans colony to gather the team. Everyone followed the order and left. Seeing everyone leave, Levi sneered. Lepidus was too arrogant. This time he would teach him a lesson. You obviously want to intervene, but you pretend to be reluctant, Camillus whispered aside. Levi's mouth twitched, and he looked at Camillus deeply. Why don't you go back to Africa, you old bastard? Do you want to be a light bulb here? Camillus snorted coldly. Do you think I don't want to? It's because he was scared by the pirates. He really didn't want to go to the sea. Moreover, all the goods were sold by the pirates, and he owed Levi so much money. He had to get so much money to import sugar, but Levi was too stingy to lend him money. He had no choice but to live here shamelessly, one day at a time. In the square of a village in Amidst, SYNOPSIS was giving a loud speech. The people below were furious. They thought it was just a rumor, but it turned out to be true. Those nobles wanted to come back and take back their property. This was to kill them. After leaving the village square, Memmius said nothing. Memmius, you have to take care of this. If the family loses the land, where will our family of 7 go to find food? Now you can't be a guard, and you are old. What else can you do besides farming? Before going home, Fabia started to nag. It was obvious that she was angered by Lepidus's behavior. Her man had fought for so many years, and he finally got this little land and had to give it back. This was to kill their whole family. Mom, is our land going to be gone? Asked little Memmius. Yes, there are bad guys who want to take our land, Fabia said angrily. Father, why don't you kill those bad guys? Little Memmius said innocently. Don't worry, we won't lose our land. Memmius touched his head and smiled gently. Seeing this, Fabia turned from anger to joy. With so many people protesting together, she didn't believe that the Senate would dare to do anything to them. So Fabia began to prepare dry food for him, while nagging. Aeneas has become a tribune of the people, a real big man in Rome, and will become a senator of the Roman Senate in 2 years. He and Memmius both joined the army together. Why did Memmius become like this? Hearing this, Memmius became even more silent, just quietly stroking his armor and dagger. The next morning, the bell in the village rang. Aeneas put on his armor again, put on a woolen cloak, and then wore his dagger, just like a soldier going to the battlefield. You must come back safely, Fabia said with a worried look on her face. Don't worry, I won't let people take our land away, Memmius said, and secretly added, even if it costs my life. After saying that, he left home with a slave. With the sound of loud military trumpets, after gathering in the square, they set out on the road to Appia. The same incident happened in hundreds of villages. Some of them went to Appia to wait for Levi to join them, while others went directly to Longcheng to join Levi. There were more and more veterans outside Longcheng. They spontaneously built a military camp, just like marching to war. The things here were immediately exposed by the Roman daily. Recently, Lepidus was extremely proud. Sulla died, and the forces of the exiled nobles began to act openly. They gathered around Lepidus and put all their hopes on Lepidus. This made Lepidus's power expand to a rather terrifying level. Some people from Sulla's faction even defected to him. On this day, he was about to go to the civic square, but was attracted by the sound of a newspaper seller. Newspapers for sale. Newspapers for sale. 26 veterans of Sulla's legions spontaneously gathered to give Sulla a state funeral. There were already countless people around the newsboy who wanted to buy newspapers. This news was so shocking that Lepidus was stunned for a long time. 26 legions spontaneously gathered to give Sulla a state funeral. Lepidus felt his heart trembling. This was a big event. A state funeral could only be held in Rome. What exactly did they want to do? Did they really want to hold a funeral or march into Rome in the name of a funeral? Quick, go buy me a newspaper, he said to a guard beside him. The guard quickly bought him a newspaper. After reading it, Lepidus felt dizzy and almost fainted. This was going to be a big deal. Quick, let's go back and gather our people to discuss this matter, Lepidus said angrily. In the temple of Jupiter in Rome, some senators were still arguing fiercely about whether to give Sulla a state funeral. This matter had been argued for several days, but there was still no result, and it seemed that the argument would continue. At this time, a tribune of the people rushed in. Seeing this, Many senators looked sideways. Although the tribune of the people had the power to convene and participate in the Senate meetings, it was still a bit rude for this tribune of the people to rush in like this. It's a big deal. 26 legions under Sulla gathered spontaneously to hold a state funeral for Sulla, the tribune of the people said a little breathlessly. Hearing this, the Roman Senate was silent for a while, and the senators were all stunned. What did you say? 26 legions gathered spontaneously to hold a state funeral for Sulla, a senator said with fear on his face. Chapter 211 Funeral. Just now he was the most enthusiastic in opposing Sulla, so they were going to Rome. Are they going to hold a state funeral or a rebel? Yes, this is the report of the Roman daily, the civilian tribune said. Quick, let me see. The senators gathered together, and the Roman daily in his hand became something everyone wanted to see. Although more than half of Sulla's legions were killed or wounded, there were at least 80,000 soldiers in the 26 legions, which was equivalent to the army of 13 legions. After reading it, the senators looked at each other in bewilderment. Not long after, the Roman Senate passed a resolution with the fastest speed and the highest number of votes. All decided to hold a state funeral for Sulla. Levi finally set off from Dragon City, and the decision of the Roman Senate had been passed to him by fast horses. Levi looked disdainful. They knew nothing about the real power. The eagle flag fluttered, and this time Levi walked at the forefront of the army. This was Sulla's position before, but now Levi replaced it. There were all kinds of legion flags, battalion flags and centurion flags. All the soldiers were wearing armor and carrying short swords. They stood under the centurion flags they belonged to, followed by baggage, just like they were really going to march to war. This huge team marched towards Cuma, and troops continued to join their army along the way. They would welcome Sulla's body there. The cold wind was bleak, and Memmius's team stood beside the Via Appia. At this time, a huge army had gathered here. Since Livy had concentrated his legions, 3 legions had gathered here. There were military flags flying everywhere and solemn veterans. They stood beside the Via Appia and watched the passing crowd silently. From time to time, caravans passed by, and they were full of awe when they looked at this huge army. Not only them, but the whole of Rome was trembling under the tyranny of these 26 legions. At this time, they saw the fluttering eagle flag in the distance. A military tribune immediately stood in the front row, and all the soldiers stood up. Not long after, Levi led the army to them. After not seeing each other for a few years, Levi became more mature. Report to the master. The original Capua 1st Legion should have 4,050 people, and the actual number is 3,877. Report to the master. The original Capua 2nd Legion should have 4,150 people, and the actual number is 3,988. Report to the master. The original Capua 3rd Legion should have 3,855 people, and the actual number is 3,577. The 3 military tribunes said loudly. Levi nodded lightly. Return to the team. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The 3 legions immediately followed their own legion flags and joined the team, which made the team even larger. The mighty team slowly marched towards Cuma, and finally arrived at Cuma a day later. At this time, a large team had gathered outside the city of Cuma, including Sulla's veterans, Valeria and Sulla's children. Levi, thank you, Valeria said with red and swollen eyes. After learning that Sulla had died, she felt like the sky had fallen, especially when she heard some bad words about Rome. She felt very uneasy, but now Levi stood up. He linked up all the veterans and wanted to hold a state funeral for Sulla. This is what I should do. If anyone dares to bully you in the future, you can come to me. Levi smiled and hugged her gently. Valeria nodded gently. He looked at Sulla's hearse. Sulla's body was lying on a golden coffin, and the coffin was pulled by a oxen. Levi and the veterans of Cuma exchanged a few words briefly. They all expressed great gratitude to Levi for standing up. You know, this is against the Roman Senate and the consul. Can we set off now? Yes. Then let's set off. So the whole team set off again. This time they were going to march into Rome, but in a different way. The team became larger. Sulla's hearse replaced Levi's position and walked at the forefront of the legion, just like the march to war before, but this time it was his hearse, and Levi and Valeria followed behind the hearse. Along the way, villagers and citizens came to present various precious items, including hundreds of liters of spices, which filled the hearse. There were also 2,000 golden crowns of various kinds. According to Roman customs, these villagers and citizens also joined the funeral procession. For a while, the whole procession reflected golden light in the sun. When he returned to the Appian Way again, he found a person who surprised them. Pompey led his 3 legions and waited quietly beside the road. Many people did not have a good face for Pompey. Sulla's will mentioned almost everyone, but Pompey was not mentioned. The bad relationship between them can be seen from this. I heard that you also support the state funeral for Sulla. Thank you for your support. Levi took the initiative to say, "This is what I should do." Pompey said embarrassedly, "Then come in," Levi said. Pompey nodded, and then joined the end of the team. The whole team headed towards Rome again, and Rome was inside an hour later. At this time, the gates of Rome were wide open. After a heated discussion in the Senate, it finally opened its arms to the 26 legions. The chief priests and various priests had been waiting for a long time, and they looked at the people who came with complicated expressions. Some Roman citizens watched the incoming team quietly, and some also presented their own gifts, and even cried bitterly. In order to protect his own safety in Rome, Sulla gave 10,000 slaves freedom and let them live in Rome. These slaves were all grateful to Sulla and regarded Sulla as their reborn parents. "Follow me," ignoring the cries, the chief priest said, and then he led the priests of the major temples to walk in front. "Raise the flag," Levi said loudly. All the legion flags, battalion flags and centurion flags were raised high, and then passed through the city gate. Those Roman citizens looked at all this with fear on their faces, and some people had even made up their minds that it would be better to leave Rome these days to avoid being affected. The whole team came to the civic square, where the consul and all the senators were already waiting quietly. Lepidus looked calm, as if all this had nothing to do with him, but from his haggard look, it can be seen that he has not been doing well these days. At this time, he found Livy, who looked at him with disdain. Lepidus's face turned a little pale. Under the command of the military tribune, the soldiers lined up in an orderly manner. The high priest walked up to the podium and said, "Next, Lucullus will give a eulogy." Eulogy is usually read by the closest person, but because Faustus is not yet an adult, it can only be read by his guardian Lucullus. Chapter 212 Chaos. In Rome, women could not be guardians. That is to say, after the father of a Roman child died, even if his mother was not dead, he could still be considered an orphan and could find another guardian. Lucullus, wearing a white toga, stood up and read the eulogy loudly. I don't know when it started. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and then there was a rumbling thunder. It began to drizzle in the sky, and Lucullus' voice echoed in the square inches the rain, looking solemn and solemn. After reading, several strong senators carried Sulla's body and left Rome, walking towards the Mars Square outside the city of Rome. Along the way, the bugler played funeral music, and Levi, the senators and the army followed the bugler and came to the Mars Square outside the city. There was already a huge pile of wood here, and the senators put Sulla's body on the pile of wood. "Do you want to cremate it?" Levi whispered. The tradition of the Cornelius clan is burial, but the Senate disagrees. When Sulla dug up Marius's body, some people said that he was worried that his body would be desecrated, so he wanted to cremate it first and then bury it. Cerebio said meaningfully. Marius's remains were thrown into the Tiber River by Sulla's order, so he didn't want Sulla to have a good life. Levi was disdainful. The political struggle in Rome had reached the point where the dead were affected. The pile of wood quickly caught fire, and then burned Sulla's body into ashes. Finally, he was buried in the central cemetery of the Mars Square, where all of the emperors of Rome were buried. Finally, a tombstone was erected, with Sulla's own epitaph on it. Revenge for revenge, repay for kindness, pay back the principal with interest, double the amount. The state funeral was over, but the whole of Rome was still filled with an atmosphere of panic, and some nobles and knights had already fled Rome. Because the more than 80,000 soldiers did not leave Rome, some camped in the Forum Mars, and some wandered around the city. They were going to attend the citizens' assembly, and Lepidus was going to hold a citizens' assembly to vote to deprive them of their land. Those angry soldiers tried every means to vent their anger, and the whole of Rome was trembling in their anger. Faced with this situation, the Senate held an emergency meeting again to discuss countermeasures. Outside Lepidus' villa on Mount Cilio, hundreds of veterans were pointing at the villa and cursing. "Lepidus, who do you think you are? You actually want to confiscate our land. I tell you honestly, if my land is really gone, I will kill you sooner or later, you sinister villain. How did Sulla promote you in the first place? You actually betrayed Sulla. What I despise most in my life is betrayers. Don't think you are the leader of the Ping faction. Even if you are the leader, we will kill you sooner or later." Listening to all kinds of dirty words and even life-threatening words, Lepidus' villa was always closed, and he didn't even open it. Inside the villa, Lepidus' face was livid. He knew that from today on, his prestige had really been destroyed. He dared not to speak back when being insulted by so many people. He didn't know how many people were laughing at him secretly. He was still worried about this. He was most worried that Levi would incite these veterans to massacre or something. He believed that those veterans would definitely do it. In recent years, some veterans were not good at business and even participated in gambling. They had already wiped out their own land and property, hoping to make a fortune in the chaos. He had seen too many such things. At this time, 12 guards holding escorted Catullus here. Seeing this kind of honor, the veterans certainly knew who the visitor was. But they still stopped Catullus' team without hesitation, and a veteran representative in his 30s came out. "Consul Catullus, what are you doing here?" "Old soldiers, I am here at the order of the Senate to persuade Lepidus to give up convening the citizens' assembly. His idea is a little inappropriate and has caused too much damage to everyone's interests." Catullus showed a gentle smile on his face. "Is this true?" an old soldier said in surprise. "Indeed, many senators do not agree to do this. It's just that Lepidus and a few people insist on their own way. I hope everyone can remain calm and believe that the Senate can handle this matter well," Catullus said. Those old soldiers looked at him suspiciously. The high officials of Rome really broke their hearts. Except for a few people, they didn't trust anyone at all. "Everyone, make way for the consul to go in. Whether what he said is true or not, if anyone dares to deprive us of our land, we will fight them," a centurion said loudly. "That's right, if anyone dares to take away our land, I will kill their entire family. Kill their entire family." Those old soldiers shouted one after another. Catullus was extremely embarrassed to see these arrogant veterans, but he still maintained his good manners and knocked on Lepidus's door. After finding out it was Catullus, they hurriedly opened the door. When Catullus saw Lepidus again, he almost didn't recognize the consul. He was bloodshot in the eyes, looked decadent, and was drinking a bottle of brandy in big gulps, which was completely different from the high-spirited days before. This made him sigh secretly. Although he and Lepidus had different political views, he felt quite sympathetic when he saw him like this. "What are you doing here? Are you here to see my joke?" Lepidus laughed. "No, the Senate hopes that you can cancel the convening of the citizens' assembly and stop accusing Livy or passing those laws. Now the development of things has exceeded our expectations, and the senators hope that Rome can restore stability," Catullus said. "Why? What right do they have to cancel the citizens' assembly I convened? What mistakes did I make that they have to do this to me? Was Sulla's massacre right? I would say those senators are a bunch of cowards, a bunch of cowards." Seeing so many soldiers, they want to kneel on the ground and lick their feet, Lepidus said angrily. "You are drunk," Catullus said. "I'm not drunk. Tell me honestly, am I right?" Lepidus grabbed Catullus' collar and said, and the pungent smell of alcohol hit him. Catullus smiled bitterly. It seemed that it was impossible to convince him today. Late at night, a grand banquet was being held in Lucullus' villa. The people of Sulla's faction were celebrating their great victory this time. Various noble ladies gathered, and the senators under Levi also participated in it. They were already familiar with this. Sarabia was having a hot relationship with several noble ladies, and now he had completely let himself go. Chapter 213 Banquet. Several people gathered around Livius, including Lucullus, his wife Claudia the Elder, and some former Sulla backbones such as Dolabella, Crassus, and Hortensius. Claudia the Elder was still as radiant as ever, and Lucullus was cuckolded as he had been in history. Well done, Livius. You defeated Lepidus's plot. Let's toast to victory. Lucullus said. Cheers. Cheers. Nobleman and others said one after another, and then raised the wine in their hands. Thank you, Livius said with a smile. Claudia the elder licked her red lips gently, and then looked at him with a teasing look. Livius cursed inwardly. What a slut. You didn't see the faces of those elders. When they heard the news, their faces turned black. Crassus said with a sinister smile. But you were a little reckless. Some people will regard you as a thorn in their eyes and a thorn in their flesh. Dolabalus said meaningfully. Are you referring to Lepidus and those exiled nobles? Livius said. Yes, there are also some aristocratic and civilian factions who don't want to see these veterans appear in Rome. They want Rome to be stable, not turbulent. Dolabalus said. I understand. Livius said that the most terrible thing is that the army is not restrained, which is why the emperors of the Roman Empire were repeatedly killed by the army. But it is not without gain. He will get the support of those veterans. Compared with the gain, he thinks that the price he paid is completely worth it. The Senate hopes that you can restrain the veterans. They have been too chaotic recently. Lucullus said with a smile. No problem. I don't want any chaos either. As long as they can safely pass the citizens' assembly, I want them to leave Rome immediately. Livius said. The Senate has sent people to do ideological work on Lepidus, hoping that he can give up convening the citizens' assembly. Dolabalus said with a big laugh. Will he agree? Livius asked. Of course he will. He wants those soldiers to leave Rome as soon as possible more than anyone else. Dolabalus said. The few of them chatted for a while, and Lucullus went to greet other guests. Claudia said a few words to him and left reluctantly. Have you noticed that Lucullus has been very active these days? Crassus said with a hint of sarcasm. Young people always have some ideas. After all, they are Sulla's designated successor, Dolabalus said in a dignified manner. Listening to their sarcastic words, Levi was puzzled. What's wrong with you? Levi asked. Someone is not sober here and wants to lead us. Crassus pointed to his head. Levi laughed secretly. So that's the case. I didn't expect Lucullus to have such ambitions. No wonder he wanted to hold a banquet and invite so many people. It's a pity that he really thought too much. People like him, Crassus, and Pompey are not willing to be inferior to others. Lucullus has no money, no qualifications, and no people. He can only be said to be thinking too much to unify Sulla's men. At this time, Levi felt the urge to urinate, so he asked, where is the toilet? It's outside the door. You can ask for it later. I don't know too much, Crassus said. Levi nodded and walked out the door. At this time, he found a person staring at him fiercely. It was Metellus Keller of old Metellus, and his wife Claudia and brother Nepos stood next to him. Levi sneered and continued to walk forward. What an arrogant bastard! Who does he think he is? Nepos cursed. Forget it. He is in the limelight recently. It is best not to offend him. Keller said. Recently, old Metellus was beaten by Sidorius in Spain, and they suffered a series of defeats, which made them unable to raise their heads. Now it is obviously not a good choice to conflict with Levi. I know, Nepos said. An inexplicable light flashed in Claudia's beautiful eyes. At this time, she saw her sister making a gesture to her, so she said, I'm sorry, I'll excuse me for a moment. What's the matter? My sister has something to ask me. After that, she left here with her sister. Levi asked several slaves before finding the toilet. It must be said that Lucullus's family was big. He had never heard of Lucullus's big source of wealth, and it seemed that he was not an honest official. But after entering the toilet, he found it was pitch black. Why is there not even a light? Levi thought. Relying on the dim moonlight, he began to discharge the water. At this time, a female voice suddenly came from outside. Is it General Levi? Who are you? Levi asked. He felt that the voice was familiar and strange, but he really couldn't remember who it was. At this time, a footstep came in. Levi didn't care at first, thinking that it was a man who came in. At this time, a fragrant breeze rushed over, and then hugged him tightly. Levi, I like you, the female voice said again, and then kissed him. Levi was startled at first. Who are you? Levi asked. The woman didn't answer, but hugged him tightly. Feeling the fullness in front of him, coupled with the stimulation in the dark, Levi felt that he was gradually losing control. He finally kissed her and took the initiative. 30,000 words omitted. How could it be you? After leaving, Levi looked at Claudia in shock and said, "You didn't expect it," Claudia said with a seductive look, with the afterglow of sex on her face. Levi nodded. He really didn't expect it. "Did you think that my sister and I didn't really like you, but were attracted by your identity and status?" Claudia said. Of course Levi would not admit it, only a fool would admit it. "In fact, my sister and I thought you were very good at the time, and it would be a good destination to marry you. But it's a pity that you didn't want to. In order to make the family strong, we had to marry those we didn't like," Claudia said resentfully. Levi looked at her awkwardly. Could he believe her? It seems that both Claudia and her are very. "You don't know how sad I was when I found out you were married. Even my sister was very unhappy," Claudia said. "But you seems to be married," Levi said. "What does that matter? Keller has a lover outside." "Does he think I don't know?" Claudia said dissatisfiedly. Levi felt a headache. This relationship was so complicated. Seeing Levi in a dilemma, Claudia chuckled. "Don't worry, I won't bother you. This is too normal in Rome. Don't have any psychological burden, just enjoy it quietly. Come here tomorrow, there will be a surprise waiting for you." Chapter 214 Rebellion. Livius saw it from a distance and found that it seemed to be Claudia the Great. Looking at the note in his hand, Livius thought, "Is this Rome?" Just when Livius was immersed in the surprise that Claudia gave him, the development of the facts did not exceed their expectations. Just 3 days later, Lepidus finally couldn't bear the huge pressure. He officially announced the cancellation of the citizens' assembly and would no longer propose a motion to let the exiled nobles return. The old soldiers cheered, but they cursed Lepidus when they left. Lepidus' prestige has plummeted since then. He almost closed the door to visitors and lived in seclusion. It seems that he has given up his political ideas. But only Livius knew that Lepidus would not give up easily. In March of the following year, this was the day when the Roman consuls took over. The Roman calendar was very chaotic, with only 10 months and 304 days in a year. 2 months were not counted because they could not carry out production activities. The Latin words October, November and December refer to the 8th, 9th and 10th months of the year respectively. Once converted to English, it became October, November and December. It was not until Caesar revised the calendar that a year officially became 12 months. After resigning from the consulship and leaving Rome, Lepidus looked at Rome with madness and resentment. He swore that he would come back soon, and with his own army, and those who humiliated him would pay an extremely heavy price. Dragon City. "Ah, Daddy, hug me." A delicate little girl stretched out her hands and said in a baby voice. She had short hair and a round face that made people want to pinch it. "Okay, my dear Portia, Daddy will hug you." Levi hugged the little girl and said, then rubbed her head intimately, causing her to giggle. "Daddy, I want a hug too." At this time, another little boy about 5 years old said, "You are so old and still want your dad to hug you. Go find your mother," Levi said. Daughters are their own intimate little cotton-padded jackets, and little Levi walked away. Little Levi pouted his lips in grievance, and Portia laughed even more happily. Julia looked at him angrily, although she knew he was playing. It was too much. She pulled little Levi over and held him in her arms. Amelia in the distance looked at all this with envy, and finally walked away sadly. They have been married for such a long time, why is her belly still not moving? Our son is already 5 years old this year. Should we find a teacher for him? Julia said, so fast. Levi thought for a while and said that he felt that only a short period of time had passed, and he didn't expect that the child had reached the age to go to school. Okay, then find him one. First find a teacher to lay the foundation for him. In a few years, we will move to Rome and find him a good teacher at that time. At this time, he thought of Cicero. There are almost no Roman philosophical achievements that can surpass him, and the disciples he taught are not bad. Although they did not become consuls, their achievements are also good. Can't you teach him yourself? Julia asked. Livius is recognized as the most learned person in Rome. He was awarded the Great Philosopher Medal and was the director of the Capua Academy. If Livius could teach him personally, then little Livius would definitely be able to grow better. I'm afraid I can't spare too much time. Livius thought for a while and said, but I will when I have time. Julia looked at him with dissatisfaction. You don't look busy now, why do you become so perfunctory? At this time, a soldier walked in with a panic. Master, something big has happened. Lepidus has rebelled. Hearing this, Livius was not surprised, but overjoyed. Really? This is great. I will write a letter to the Senate. I will go north to fight Lepidus in person. No, protect Rome and the Senate, Livius said righteously. Seeing this, Julia was worried. Why is there another war? Can't you not go? Don't worry. Lepidus is just a mere man. I can't beat him with one hand, Livius said with a face. After that, he hurriedly called Lysis and began to write a letter. In addition to the decisive battle with Lepidus, he also hoped to reorganize 3 legions in Campania to prevent any accidents. After sending it out, Livius began to prepare for war. He had been preparing for today for a long time, and everything was ready. Livius's letter was delivered to the Senate at full speed. The Senate, which was overwhelmed, immediately agreed to Livius' request and ordered Livius to lead his troops north. In a garden outside Naples, Coponius was discussing something with Pyrrhus and Lysax in a low voice. Is he finally gone? Pyrrhus said in surprise. Yes, he did leave with the Capua garrison. In addition, he also took away 600 dragon city guards. Coponius said. After Sulla's reform, the term of office of the local governor was extended to 5 years, so he was able to continue to serve as the governor of Naples. That's great, Lysax said. We can take this opportunity to raid Dragon City. According to the previous agreement, I want to provide the manufacturing methods of sugar, glass, steel swords, true god paper and strong liquor. Pyrrhus looked at him deeply and said, no problem. Originally, Lysax's identity did not qualify him to get all this, but after he helped them contact the nobles of Pontus, the nobles of Pontus made this request and asked Lysax to be their agent. In order to unite the nobles of Pontus against the Sulla faction, they had to agree to this request. Although Lysax's identity is still a mystery, Pyrrhus believes that he has a close relationship with the Pontus officials. It is precisely with the continuous financial support of Pontus that the number of their pirates can expand rapidly, even exceeding the previous number in one fell swoop. We'd better wait for some time. I will ask the Senate of Naples to allow me to form a guard to protect the safety of Naples, and then obtain the command of this guard. Moreover, Livia's army is far away, so when we attack Dragon City, he will not have time to rescue. Coponius said. That's a good idea. Those pirates will need time to come to Rome. This time we have to do it thoroughly. Lysax nodded and said. This time they dispatched their own pirates, and contacted a large number of pirates through Pontus, and then cooperated with Lepidus to capture Rome. Now is the time to reveal my true identity. In fact, I am not Pyrrhus, that is my pseudonym. My name is Laelius. I am a good friend of Nasica Scipio. My ancestor is Laelius who defeated Hannibal in the Battle of Zama, Pyrrhus said proudly. Chapter 215 Joining Forces. Now that the uprising is imminent, it is time for them to reveal their identities. Only in this way can they call on the Romans to resist the evil Sulla faction. Oh, really? I have heard a lot about you. Lysax showed a hypocritical smile on his face. He looked like he had heard a lot about you. Lysax, my dear friend, I don't believe you are an ordinary pirate. Those nobles of Pontus trust you so much that they actually gave you so much money and hired so many professional mercenaries for you. Can you tell me your identity? Pyrrhus, no, Laelius said. And can ordinary pirates defeat the Roman army of the governor of Sicily? What a joke. Those pirates are a bunch of useless people. Apart from robbing some ordinary people, they are of no use at all. What are you thinking about? I am just an ordinary pirate. Lysax looked at them with strange eyes, as if he was looking at an idiot. Coponius and Pyrrhus could not help but feel angry. This guy is really stubborn. Forget it. Don't bother with them. Outside the Vatican, it has become a military camp at this time. The Roman Senate sent an envoy to comfort Levi. They liked this kind of person who expressed his loyalty to the Senate at the first time. Although he seemed a little reckless some time ago, he was still a person who could be won over. The envoys included Lucullus, Crassus, Delabella and others, as well as some retainers such as Cerebio, Liberius, and Billus. In addition, the new tribune of the people, Ennius, joined them. Levi, "It's great that you came. We are relieved to have you here," Lucullus said with a smile. "Lepidus, that bastard, dared to rebel. We must make sure he is dead without a burial place," Dolibolus said angrily. Lepidus's banner was to eliminate the remnants of Sulla. How could they not be angry? "What is the situation now?" Levi asked. "The Senate has declared a state of emergency and declared Lepidus a public enemy of the state," Cerebio said. Lucullus glanced at him indifferently, although he didn't say anything on the surface. He looked down on him in his heart. He couldn't even get to the point. Lepidus was selected to rule Cisalpine Gaul. According to the law, he can form 2 legions. But on his way to take office, someone discovered that the army he had formed exceeded 2 legions, so he reported this to the Senate. Those exiled nobles have gathered under his command, and now they are marching towards Rome. According to my estimation, the number of his soldiers may have exceeded 3 legions. Lucullus said. Catullus also formed 2 legions, and the Senate ordered him to lead these 2 legions to support Rome. But Catullus has never fought a war, and he is probably not Lepidus' opponent. He himself expressed his willingness to give up his position, so the Senate has been studying who will command the 2 legions, Dolibolus said. Lucullus' eyes flashed with desire, but this desire quickly flashed away. He wanted to command the 2 legions, but the hope was not great. "Then let me command his 2 legions," Levi said. Pompey has volunteered. He expressed his willingness to become Catullus's staff and command the 2 legions on his behalf, Lucullus said. Hearing this, Levi could not help but frown. The Roman system has always attached great importance to age. If you want to command 2 legions, you must at least be a magistrate, that is, you must be over 39 years old. But Lucullus and Pompey are not qualified, so they are not qualified to command the 2 legions. But there is a workaround, that is, let the staff actually command the 2 legions. This kind of thing has also happened in Roman history. After Scipio defeated Hannibal, Hannibal defected to the Syrian king Antiochus for some reason. Antiochus assembled an army of 80,000 and prepared to avenge his previous shame. Because of concerns about Hannibal in Syria, Rome decided to send Scipio, who had defeated Hannibal, over. However, Rome stipulated that a person could only serve as a consul once in 10 years. There were indeed exceptions, but they were all when the war reached an extremely critical moment. The Senate thought that no exception should be made, so they let Scipio's brother, the mediocre Lucius Scipio, serve as consul, and let Scipio serve as a staff member to actually command the Roman army. Levi may know Pompey better than Pompey. He knows that Pompey is a man who is crazy about honor. If he dares to stand in Pompey's way of pursuing honor, Pompey will definitely turn against him. Whether in the future or now, he still needs Pompey's cooperation in many things. Should he dare his face with him, you convey my intention to the Senate, and everything will be decided by the Senate. Levi thought for a while and said, "Well then," Lucullus and others said, and after comforting the soldiers, they went back to the Senate to report. That night, Pompey came to the door in person. "I hope you can give up commanding Catullus's 2 legions," Pompey said straight to the point, and his face was very serious. "Why?" Levi said dissatisfiedly. Pompey was too impolite. "Don't you think you have already won a lot of honors?" "I hope to get the command of these 2 legions and then defeat Lepidus," Pompey said. Levi couldn't help but twitch his lips. This reason was very good, powerful, and shameless. Although he had many honors, he didn't mind having more honors. But he still agreed, "No problem, but I must be the commander-in-chief." Pompey's expression became complicated. If he agreed, it would mean that he would be inferior to Levi on the surface. This has never happened before. At least he and Levi were equal on the surface before. He thought for a long time and finally said, "Okay." This was a difficult decision, which made him feel extremely painful and was a strong blow to his self-esteem. "What are your plans after defeating Lepidus?" Levi asked. Pompey looked at him puzzledly. "What do you mean? Have you ever thought about attacking Sertorius in front of Spain?" Levi said. "This. Of course I have thought about it, but I'm not old enough," Pompey said. Age is a flaw of Levi and Pompey. If it weren't for the age limit, they would have let themselves go long ago. "What if we don't disband the army after defeating Sertorius?" Levi said. Hearing this, Pompey's heart skipped a beat. This was to intimidate the Senate, but he liked it. In history, Pompey did this not once, but at least twice. What he was best at was using the army to force the Senate to agree to his various unreasonable demands. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person, Levi. I think there's no problem. What's your goal? Pompey said with a big laugh. Chapter 216 Night Attack. He had imagined himself killing all the enemies in Spain, defeating Metellus, defeating Sertorius, and then returning home with honor and holding a grand triumphal ceremony. Looking at Pompey's smug look, Livius had a face full of pity. Poor child, I'm afraid you don't know that it's a trap, which will trap you and Metellus severely. I want to go to encircle and suppress pirates, Livius said. It turned out to be just encircling and suppressing pirates. Although there are many pirates and they are distributed in a wide sea area, it is a thankless job. And what honor is there in defeating pirates? It's more interesting to defeat Sertorius. I support you. The two smiled at each other and reached an offensive and defensive alliance on this matter. But what he didn't know was that Levi's target was not only the pirates, but the Pontus behind the pirates, and even Armenia and Syria. It's a pity that Pompey didn't know all this, otherwise he would never agree easily. Not long after, Livius issued a public statement supporting Pompey to command Catullus 2 legions as a staff member. When this news came out, the Senate was a little unprepared for a while. Although Pompey's record was okay, it was far behind Livy. Pompey could not just defeat the Samnites and Lucanians, let alone defeat Domitius and the Numidian army. So the Senate sent someone to ask him to change his decision. This was a military and national event. Lepidus was about to attack Rome. If he was defeated, Lepidus would probably start a massacre in Rome. This matter was related to everyone's life and property, so it was better to be safe. But Livy refused to accept it. He knew that Lepidus was simply a fake. Without his Capua garrison, he would not be Pompey's opponent. The Senate was very helpless about this, so they discussed the issue of the command of the entire army. In Roman history, there was a problem of 2 consuls commanding the army at the same time, which resulted in a great defeat. Therefore, Livy and Pompey had to distinguish between the primary and the secondary. At this time, Livy did not give in and asked for the command of the entire army. Some things can be given up, and some things cannot be given up. Pompey also stated that he supported Livy's command of the 3 legions. After the Senate discussed, the matter was settled. In the dark night, a manor on the border of Naples and Capua suddenly opened, and a group of pirates came out of the manor. They had been hiding in this manor in batches for a long time, and it was time to start their plan. Led by the guide, Lysax and Laelius led them directly to Dragon City. Greater than these pirates were clearly divided into 2 parts. One part was fully armored, wearing short swords and shields, and was well trained in action. It was obvious that they were truly elite. Another part was extremely scattered, with only a few equipped with armor, and they couldn't even maintain their formation when marching. However, this place is very close to Dragon City, only a dozen kilometers away. Soon they arrived near Dragon City. Due to the war, Dragon City has raised its alert level. The gates are basically closed during the day, so they can only think of ways to sneak attack at night. In the distance, Dragon City has lit fire pots in a few spots, and some guards are constantly patrolling on the city wall. Because of Sulla, the number of guards was greatly reduced, the area was too large, and the patrol was not as strong as before. This was also the reason why Lysax, Relius and others dared to launch a sneak attack. They selected some elites, wearing black short clothes, and slowly approached Dragon City with the help of the night. When a group of guards passed by, they quickly put a group of ladders against the city wall, and then the pirates climbed up the wall one by one. Seeing this, Relius and Lysax smiled, knowing that the matter was at least half done. More and more pirates climbed up the city wall along the ladders, and the pirates behind quietly put more ladders against the city wall. Who are you? At this time, a group of patrolling guards finally found the pirates. The pirates did not say anything, but went forward to fight. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! The centurion shouted loudly, and ordered a guard to call the police directly. The centurion relied on the sharpness of his weapon and fought and retreated. But they found that they were wrong. The pirates were highly skilled in martial arts, skilled in cooperation, and even their weapons were not inferior to theirs. Before long, They were all killed by the numerous pirates. After falling to the ground, the centurion opened his eyes unwillingly. He wanted to alert Dragon City that these were not ordinary enemies, but he had no chance. Some pirates picked up the expensive daggers and rushed to the city gate. More and more elite pirates climbed up the city wall along the ladder, and they also rushed to the city gate silently. Although the guards fought with all their strength, they were outnumbered. Before long, the pirates occupied the city gate. The city gate slowly rose with a click, and the pirates outside the city gate rushed in excitedly. Every pirate knew the wealth of Dragon City. Relentless and Lysax had promised that as long as they occupied Dragon City, each pirate would get a share of 2,000 dinars. Under the stimulation of money, every pirate was excited. At this time, Dragon City finally reacted, and there were sounds of alarm bells, bugles and dogs barking everywhere. A large number of soldiers came out of the barracks. Due to insufficient numbers, there were less than 1 battalion of soldiers in the outer city barracks, and the rest were all deployed in the inner city. In addition, the artisan area, residential area and school also took action. Due to the continuous war, Levi had already conducted drills for wartime. They did not enter the inner city, but fled directly to the barracks area, where there were thick walls, enough to protect their safety. In addition, the barracks had a narrow passage of 180 meters that led to the inner city. The guards who rushed out of the barracks immediately fought with the pirates. They found that there were many pirates, and they had no idea how many enemies there were in the dark. Moreover, some pirates were very strong and were not comparable to ordinary pirates. This put great pressure on the soldiers of this brigade. Cover the residents to retreat to the barracks, and don't go forward. The military tribune quickly made a judgment. After receiving the order from the military tribune, the soldiers immediately covered the residents to retreat to the barracks. Seeing that some pirates actually rushed to those residential areas to rob, Leelius and Lysax were furious. How much money can these residential areas rob? The core area of the inner city is the main area. Asshole, hurry to the inner city. Relius kicked a pirate angrily, and the pirate looked at him fiercely. Do you want to disobey my order? Relius sneered. The pirate thought for a long time, and finally rushed to the inner city unwillingly. He was lucky, otherwise Relius really wouldn't mind killing him to rectify military discipline. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Seeking Help. Leelius shouted loudly, everyone, go to the inner city. There is so much money there that you can't count it. Lysax ordered the elite pirates to force the scattered pirates. The pirates had no choice but to rush to the inner city. At this time, the inner city had already reacted. The defense of the inner city has always been the top priority. A large number of guards rushed to the top of the city, with crossbows strung, quietly watching the enemies rushing here. Although they appeared calm on the surface, they were extremely anxious in their hearts. Only their relatives could live in Dragon City. With so many enemies attacking, they didn't know what happened to them. If it weren't for the strict discipline, they might have run away long ago. What happened outside? At this time, Amelia also woke up and found Menania to ask. Not sure, it seems that some enemies rushed into the outer city, Menania said with a face full of fear. What did you say? This is impossible. Amelia looked unbelievable. How could someone be so bold as to attack Dragon City directly? There are so many guards in Dragon City. How could the outer city be lost in an instant? What should we do? Can they hold on? Amelia was also panicked. She had never encountered such a situation before. Before leaving, Levi entrusted Dragon City to her, and she had to hold on to Dragon City no matter what. This should be possible, Menania said in panic. She had been at a loss for words. Amelia put on her clothes and rushed out worriedly, and found that the outside was in chaos. Some slaves were like headless flies, but fortunately Valens soon appeared. He scolded the slaves and asked them to return to their rooms. Valens, what's going on outside now? Amelia asked. Madam, don't worry, all the guards have already climbed the city wall. Without the strength of 2 legions, The enemy can't attack, Valens said very confidently. Do you know who the enemy is? How many people are there? Amelia asked a series of questions in rapid succession. Valens shook his head. Now there was chaos outside, and he didn't know anything. Do you think we can ask for help from outside? Amelia said. Let me ask about this, Valens said. He took Amelia and several maids out of the mansion and came to a 3-story building not far away. In the inner city, there were only military camps and a few secret agencies besides Levi's mansion. This small building was the headquarters of the intelligence team. At this time, the intelligence team had already turned on the lights. Morris, who was disheveled, was yelling at some people in the rage. You useless people, why do I keep you? The enemy has already reached Dragon City, and you don't know anything. When the master comes back, he will be in big trouble, Valens said with some gloating. Amelia smiled, thinking that what he said made sense. At this time, Morris also found Amelia and the others, and immediately stopped yelling, looking at them awkwardly. Morris, do you have a channel to communicate with the outside world? We need reinforcements, Valens asked. Don't worry, I've sent people to ask for help, Morris said awkwardly. When will our reinforcements arrive? Amelia asked. Well, within 3 hours. Morris thought for a while and said, Dragon City is quite a long distance away from Capua. From the time the reinforcements arrived in Capua, to the time they reacted, to the time the army assembled, and then to the time they arrived in Dragon City, 3 hours was already very fast. Can't it be faster? The situation is very critical now, Amelia asked. What do you think of my brain? Morris slapped his head hard and said, come with me. After that, he took them to the yard next door, and a cooing sound came from the yard. Amelia and Valens looked and found that they were actually some pigeons. Morris found some paper and started writing. After writing, he tied it to the leg of a pigeon and released the pigeon. What is this? Amelia asked curiously. Carrier pigeons. These pigeons can deliver my letters to the designated place. It was the master's idea. I trained for several years before I finally succeeded, Morris said with admiration. Valens and Amelia looked at each other. Carrier pigeons. What is this? Morris felt unsafe, so he wrote 2 more notes and released 2 carrier pigeons. Trust me, our reinforcements will arrive in 2 hours at most, Morris said. Hearing this, Valens and Amelia were relieved. Rush up. Whoever rushes up first will be rewarded with 10,000 dinars. Laelius shouted excitedly. Stimulated by the huge bounty, the pirates rushed madly along the ladder to the city wall, but the guards on the city wall were experienced. Some of them used crossbows to shoot at the pirates under the city wall, and some used iron forks to pick up the ladders and push them to the ground. The screams of the pirates under the city wall were endless, and some pirates screamed and fell off the ladders. It didn't take long for those brave pirates to retreat. No matter how Laelius and Lysac urged them, they were unwilling to go up. What a bunch of rubbish! What do you think we should do next? Laelius said bitterly. He didn't expect that he had already fought here, but was blocked by someone. Find someone to fill a slope with sand and stone. As long as the slope is flush with the city wall, we can rush up from the slope. Also, find someone to hit the city gate with a larger piece of wood to see if it can be knocked open. Lysac had rich combat experience and quickly came up with 2 solutions. Then do it this way. I know there are a lot of materials in the artisan area and the residential area, Laelius said. Before this battle, he had bribed some residents of Dragon City and was very familiar with the structure of Dragon City. So the pirates acted quickly and found various tools to prepare to fill a slope. What they didn't know was that some guards sneaked out of the military camp in the outer city, beat up a few pirates who took the opportunity to rob, tied them to the military camp, and began to torture the pirates for intelligence. In a mansion in Capua, Gilius was suddenly awakened by a commotion outside. What happened? Why is it so noisy? Gilius said dissatisfiedly. At this time, a slave outside said, Master, Dragon City sent someone to deliver a message saying that they were attacked by a large number of unknown enemies. I hope you can send troops to support them as soon as possible. Although Gilius had retired from the position of Capua administrator, he still served as the Capua elder. Chapter 218 Ambush. Since the death of old Tullius, He became the chief senator of Capua under the operation of Levi. Levi was ordered by the Senate to form 3 legions, one of which was in Capua, and the commander was Gilius. "What did you say?" "Dragon City was attacked." Gilius was shocked to hear this. Everyone knew that Levi valued Dragon City very much. That was his foundation. If Dragon City was really taken down, I'm afraid Levi would be angry and want to kill people. "Quickly gather all the troops and go to rescue Dragon City," Gilius said. "Yes, master," the slave said. Gilius quickly got dressed and got up from the bed. Due to limited time, the army he recruited was less than 1,000. Since those enemies could force Dragon City to rescue, there must be a lot of people. Maybe he should ask for help from other families. After learning that a large number of people evacuated to the military camp, Amelia immediately ordered to open the small door of the passage at the north gate to let the people move to the inner city. Valens and Plautus had a fierce argument about whether to send troops to repel the enemy in front of them. "Madam, as long as you give me a battalion of soldiers and join the soldiers in the outer city, I promise to destroy all the enemies. Although they have a large number of people, we can beat 10 of them without any problem," Plautus said very confidently. "Plutus, I have never doubted your ability, but I think the master is still concerned about the safety of the inner city. The loss of the outer city is not important. Now the enemy situation is unclear. I think it is better to be safe and wait for reinforcements to arrive before we counterattack." Valens said, "Are we just going to sit back and watch the enemy destroy the outer city? These are all the hard work of the family owner." Plautus said, "These are not comparable to the safety of the inner city." Valens said, "Valens, I think you are too timid. You should be bold in this matter." The two of them kept arguing, and finally looked at Amelia. This matter can only be decided by Amelia. Levi is not here, and she has to make decisions on many things. Amelia frowned, and she really didn't know what to do about this kind of thing. At this time, she found Morris next to the long table. "Morris, what do you think we should do?" Amelia asked. "I think we should hold on and wait for help. Even if the outer city is burned to the ground, the head of the family will not be too distressed. But once the core area is breached, the head of the family will be very angry. This is the foundation of the family. As long as the foundation is there, everything is not a problem." Morris said, "No one knows Levi's importance to the core area better than him. The first task of the intelligence team is to cut off anyone's covetousness for the core area. Except Levi, no one is allowed to interfere in any affairs of the core area. Even Amelia, Yulia and Cybele are no exception." Levi has repeatedly emphasized this point to everyone more than once. "I understand," Amelia said. Then, at this moment, a guard shouted a report outside, and then said, "Report to the lady and the commander." A soldier came from the barracks and said he had important information to report. Plautus glanced at Amelia, and Amelia nodded. "Let him in quickly." Soon a guard came in from outside. "Report to the lady and the commander." "So, the centurion of the 200th Squadron of the 3rd Battalion, reports to you." "Tell me, who are those enemies?" Plautus asked. So the centurion told them all the information they got from torture. "Purple Sail Pirates." It turned out to be the Purple Sail Pirates. Hearing this, everyone was relieved. It's not like they haven't fought with the Purple Sail Pirates before, and they don't know what the Purple Sail Pirates look like. "I didn't expect it to be them again. They are really haunting." Morris couldn't help but curse. These pirates really embarrassed him, and he wanted to nail all of them to the cross. Plautus was smiling. "I didn't expect that they only had more than 5,000 people. This will make it easy. As long as we send 2 battalions, we can definitely defeat the enemy in front of us." "Are they trying to lure us out of the city?" Valens asked. "That's impossible. It's not easy to hide and lurk for more than 5,000 people. It must be the help of the Naples administrator Coponius that allowed them to do this. If there were more people, we would definitely find some clues." Morris gritted his teeth and said, "Can you guarantee it?" Valens asked. "I guarantee it with my life." Morris said, "Madam, I think it's time to send troops to attack." Plautus said, "Can 2 battalions of soldiers defeat 5,000 pirates?" Amelia asked. "Absolutely no problem," Plautus said. Amelia glanced at the others, and they nodded. "If 2 battalions of soldiers equipped with steel swords can't even defeat 5,000 pirates, Then they can all die. Then do as you wish, Amelia said, and then she stuck out her tongue. This kind of thing is really difficult to make a decision. As you command, Plautus said. After that, he left here to make arrangements. Some soldiers went to the military camp in the outer city from that passage, and then the gate of the military camp in the outer city slowly opened, and a large number of soldiers slowly left the military camp. The movement in the military camp did not surprise Laelius and Lysax. Are they really coming out? Laelius was not surprised, but was pleasantly surprised. Yes, it seems that we succeeded, Lysax said with a smile. The two of them had a sinister smile on their faces. This time they came prepared and knew the strength of Dragon City very well. If they relied on these pirates alone, how could they dare to attack Dragon City? The guards immediately found some pirates who were robbing. Kill. A military tribune pointed at the pirates and said. The guards immediately put up airtight shields and killed the pirates. A large number of javelins flew from their heads to the pirates, and the pirates quickly collapsed at the touch. The guards chased the pirates and killed them, and they were about to win a great victory. At this time, a large number of things fell from the roofs of both sides. There were chairs, tables cut in half, and javelins. Once they hit the Roman soldiers, they immediately cried out in pain, and some even died from their brains bursting. Oh no, there is an ambush. Hide in the houses on both sides, the military tribune exclaimed. But at this time they found that the houses on both sides were locked from the inside. Some soldiers desperately rushed in, but found that they couldn't break it open. It seemed that there was a heavy object inside. Various things fell from the roofs one after another, and Roman soldiers were either killed or injured. Now they were really in a mess. Chapter 219 Intimidation. Back off, everyone. Back off, everyone. Retreat to the barracks, the military tribune said with red eyes. They were always the ones who ambushed the enemy, but they didn't expect to be ambushed by the enemy today, and in their own city. This is a shame. The Roman soldiers immediately retreated, and at this moment, an army in full armor stopped them from behind. Their armor was no different from that of the Romans, and they held the same shields and daggers, looking like real Roman troops. But these Roman guards knew that they were not their own people, but enemies. The two sides collided fiercely, and the Roman soldiers rushed forward desperately, trying to kill their way out with the sharpness of their weapons. But what frightened them was that the weapons of these enemies were exactly the same as theirs, and they were also an army equipped entirely with steel swords. This frightened them, and screams kept coming from behind. In order to avoid being hit by falling objects from the roof, the Roman soldiers kept crowding forward. This caused the Roman soldiers in front to be constantly pushed by the people behind them, and their movements were seriously deformed. The enemies took the opportunity to stab their steel swords into their bodies. Half an hour later, there were basically no Romans standing here. They either lost their lives or fell to the ground with injuries. At this time, Laelius and Lysax came over. Should we kill them all? Laelius said with a complicated look. Although these soldiers were all Romans, they were his enemies, and he didn't mind killing them at all. Maybe we can use these guys, Lysax said with a smile. How to use them? Laelius said with a frown. You will understand soon, Lysax said. Prouse and his men still knew nothing about the situation in the outer city, but not long after, some pirates pushed some injured Roman soldiers towards the inner city. Listen, Roman soldiers above, all your people are dead. I advise you to surrender as soon as possible, otherwise I will kill you all when the city is broken, Lysax said proudly. How is this possible? How could they be defeated by a group of pirates? The Roman soldiers on the wall said one after another that they had fought in the south and the north, defeated the Samnites and Lucanians who were several times larger than themselves, and defeated the Numidian elephant cavalry and a large number of troops in Africa. How could they believe that they were defeated by a group of pirates? But everything in front of them seemed to prove their words. You don't believe it, right? Then look at what this is. After that, the pirates threw heads onto the wall one by one. After throwing them, the pirates hurriedly fled, fearing that they would shoot arrows. This is Hypsius, a centurion. Plancus. It turned out to be Plancus. He is a military tribune. Could they really be defeated by a group of pirates? Seeing those heads, the soldiers said in horror. These were the heads of senior officers, and they all knew them. This is impossible. This is impossible. Plautus was completely stunned. He would never believe that the 2 battalions would be completely wiped out by pirates. Who would believe it if he told others? Shoot, shoot, Plautus said angrily. The soldiers on the wall fired arrows one after another, but because of the injured Roman soldiers blocking them, their arrows intentionally or unintentionally deviated from the target. Seeing this, the pirates retreated quickly. Is this your choice? Kill those Roman soldiers for me, Laelius said viciously. Puff, puff. The sound of sharp blades piercing into flesh. The Roman soldiers screamed and fell to the ground. The soldiers on the wall were all horrified, wishing to kill all the pirates. Plautus's face was also gloomy. He lost 2 battalions of soldiers, and the battlefield had undergone unknown changes, which made him doubt whether he could defend the inner city. Morris was dizzy and almost fainted. What happened outside? Laelius and Lysax discussed for a while and immediately gave the order to attack. Some pirates rushed forward with sandbags on their backs, using door panels and shields as cover. Shoot, shoot quickly, Plautus said loudly. Arrows were shot at the pirates from the city wall, and some pirates were hit immediately, which made their momentum stagnate. Seeing this, Relius and Lysax almost burst into a curse. What a bunch of useless people who are not good at doing things, but are more likely to cause trouble. If Lysax had not brought 2,000 elite mercenaries, this sneak attack would have failed long ago, but now they still have a chance. At this time, a huge stone flew into the sky and then hit the city wall hard. The whole city wall was shaken by it, and a lot of rubble fell from the city wall. Seeing this, the soldiers on the city wall were all shocked and stunned. Catapult, it's a trebuchet, some soldiers said in horror. Although their city wall was very good, it would never be able to stop the attack of the trebuchet. At this time, they remembered that the accessories of the trebuchet were actually placed in the warehouse of the outer city. These were originally used to defend the city wall, but they didn't expect to fall into the hands of the enemy. The worst thing was that there were many matching stones in it. Laelius had long known that there were trebuchets in the warehouse here. He learned how to operate the trebuchets through some noble channels and trained some craftsmen to operate the trebuchets. Go up quickly, don't be afraid, they don't dare to shoot, Lysax shouted. The pirates saw that the soldiers really stopped shooting and rushed up immediately, but not long after, under the strict order of Plautus, the soldiers started shooting again. A stone flew to the wall again, just killing several soldiers, but this could not stop them from shooting. The pirates could not bear the casualties and retreated again. Both Laelius and Lysax were extremely disappointed with these pirates. They were okay in a favorable battle, but they were not good at fighting against the wind. How about sending your elite troops? Laelius said. No, I can't waste them on a meaningless siege. I have another way. Didn't we capture some civilians? Let them go, Lysax said coldly. Laelius hesitated. If this decision was spread, it would be very bad for the family's reputation, but he finally made up his mind. Well then, Laelius said. That's right. Lysax's face immediately brightened. Not long after, some civilians appeared in the soldiers' sight. They came over carrying various sand and stones. Don't shoot. I am a resident of Dragon City, and my husband is a guard in the city, a middle-aged woman said. Chapter 220 Reinforcements. A child in his teens cried and walked towards the city wall holding a few bricks. Seeing this, the soldiers on the city wall were stunned. Assholes. They are all a bunch of assholes. I will kill them. I swear to the true God, I must kill them. The soldiers said angrily. Only the soldiers' relatives could live in Dragon City. Some residents retreated too slowly and were captured by pirates. Plautus felt desperate. If it were ordinary civilians, he would dare to order the soldiers to shoot, but these were the soldiers' relatives. He swore that if he dared to give such an order, there would be soldiers who would kill him. What should we do? Amelia said with fear. I'm sorry to the master of the family. Morris was desperate at this time. He could not think of a way to deal with the enemy. Don't lose heart. In fact, things are not desperate yet. At this time, Plautus came over. Is there any chance of turning around? Amelia asked. We still have a large stock of weapons and armor. We can arm those trained male citizens and more than 4,000 orphans. As long as they are equipped with short swords, they can all be warriors. Plautus said. Levi recruited Roman orphans every year, and the number of orphans has now grown to more than 4,000. Let's do it. Amelia thought for a while and said. So they acted quickly and equipped those male citizens and orphans with weapons and armor. Seeing that the soldiers on the city did not shoot arrows, Laelius and Lysax were very happy. So they ordered the civilians to speed up and carry various sand and stones to the bottom of the city wall, and some pirates used the civilians to cover them and threatened them with crossbows. At the same time, the catapults continued to attack the nearby city wall. Although time was limited, there were not many catapults assembled, and the slave craftsmen were not skilled, but if it was just a section of the city wall, I believe it would not take long to break through. Not long after, a narrow slope of more than 4 meters high was piled up. A woman suddenly threw the sandbag in her hand to the top of the slope, and then rushed to the city wall with the slope. Come here quickly. A guard on the city wall stretched out his hand and said, "Dream on." A pirate laughed sinisterly and pulled the trigger. 3 arrows shot at the woman from 3 different directions. As soon as the woman climbed up the city wall, she fell into the arms of the soldier. This calmed down some impulsive civilians immediately. "I will kill them. I must kill them," the soldier said angrily, and then raised the crossbow in his hand and aimed at one of the pirates. An old man stood in front of him. The old man smiled miserably, and tried his best to hit his head backwards, and then rolled to the side. "Shoot the arrows," said the old man. The pirate was caught off guard and felt a pain. At this moment, several arrows shot him at the same time, shooting several large holes in his body. "This is impossible," the pirate said unwillingly. He didn't want to leave this colorful world yet. Lysax looked at the pirate coldly, then pointed at the old man and said, "Kill him." The old man was soon shot to death by the pirates behind him. "The master must avenge me. Kill these bastards." Before he died, the old man laughed. "Continue," Lysax said coldly. Under the threat of the pirates, the civilians had to continue widening the slope, seeing that the slope was already more than 30 meters wide. At this moment, there was a loud bang next to it, and a section of the city wall was actually smashed down by the catapult. "Pass my order. Attack," Lysax said. Hearing this, the pirates who had been waiting for a long time immediately rushed up with a clamor. Many of them were equipped with the weapons and equipment of the dead Roman soldiers, which was not much different from the enemy. "Shoot." At this time, a rain of arrows suddenly came from the city wall. A large amount of arrows, javelins, and stones hit the pirates so hard that they wished they were dead. However, the pirates still rushed up the ramparts and fought with the guards on the walls. The weapons of both sides were equally sharp, but the Roman soldiers were much more elite than them, and soon the pirates were killed and retreated step by step. Laelius said, "It's time for the mercenaries to take action." "Okay." Lysax thought for a while and said that time was running out, and perhaps the reinforcements from Capua would arrive soon. After receiving the order from Lysax, the armored mercenaries immediately rushed to the walls. The pirates who were about to be defeated immediately became morale boosted when they saw these elites, and continued to kill the Roman soldiers. The two sides fought fiercely on the walls, and guards and pirates fell on the walls one by one. Plautus was shocked. The pirates who came up later did not look like ordinary pirates at all. They were well trained, well coordinated, and even equipped with steel swords. They were not elite soldiers from some country pretending to be them, but there were too many pirates, and those elite pirates were quite powerful. More and more guards died, and the walls occupied by the pirates became wider and wider, and some even broke into the city. "Let those Roman citizens take over," Plautus said with a cold face. "Now everything is consumable. As long as they can withstand the attack of these pirates, anything is fine." After receiving Plautus's order, the Roman citizens who came here immediately put on armor, took steel swords and rushed forward under the command of centurions. Many Romans have received military training since childhood. Although they are not as good as those guards, they are also very good. At this time, a loud military trumpet and horn sounded suddenly outside the city. Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed. "Our reinforcements have arrived," Plautus said with a look of surprise. This was the signal for the Roman army to attack. "This is really great." Amelia was also ecstatic. Those Roman soldiers cheered and their morale was boosted for a while. "Asshole," It was just a little bit, Laelius said angrily. Send all those rubbish out to stop them, Lysax said grimly. Laelius nodded. As long as they had money, they could recruit as many pirates as they wanted. Except for the mercenaries, all the pirates were sent out to stop the reinforcements from Capua. The pirates were frightened and afraid. They didn't retreat even when the enemy's reinforcements came. What were they thinking? However, due to the tyranny of the two men, they had no choice but to stop the Roman soldiers. At this time, Gillius had already led his men into the outer city and had a fierce physical battle with the pirates. Chapter 221 Senate Meeting. He not only brought 1,000 newly recruited guards, but also the Capua guards and some Capua nobles and knights' private forces, who were very happy to help Levi at this time. With their concerted efforts, the pirates were beaten back step by step. Soon a pirate leader came back here with an embarrassed look on his face. "Boss, they are too powerful. We are no match for them." The two looked at him speechlessly. "Forget it. They shouldn't count on them. Notify everyone to retreat." Lysax sighed and said, "This retreat might never have the opportunity to get the formula of the steel sword again." After receiving Lysax's order, the mercenaries immediately withdrew, joined other pirates and retreated to the outside of the city. The inner city cheered at first, but soon there was crying. "Assholes! What a bunch of assholes!" In the Vatican, Levi was furious when he learned that Dragon City was attacked. A group of pirates dared to sneak attack Dragon City, and almost succeeded, which made Levi furious and unable to restrain himself. What made him even more angry was that Naples had also joined the rebellion. It was obvious that the exiled nobles had also intervened. "Let Aeneas convene a Senate meeting, hoping that the Senate will allow me to return to Dragon City and form an army of 6 legions. The current situation has reached a very dangerous point," Levi said. He remembered that the radar rebellion in history did not seem to be so serious. "I understand," Lysax said. "By the way, inform the church, my tenants and veterans. I need their support. Let them arm themselves as quickly as possible, and I will bear all the losses," Levi said. "Yes, sir." That night, the Roman daily was fully printed and spread. Naples rebelled. Tens of thousands of pirates ravaged Campania, and Campania was in ruins. Shocked, Lepidus actually colluded with pirates, which is a shame for Rome. Will Lepidus carry out another massacre after conquering Rome? Let this newspaper analyze it for you. Livius hopes that the Senate will allow him to return to Campania and form 6 Roman legions. As the most powerful public opinion weapon under Livius, the Roman daily once again played a major role. There was panic in Rome, and people rushed to buy the Roman daily in the hope of understanding the situation outside. Rome's housing prices plummeted again, and Levi even had the mood to quietly purchase real estate. As for Pompey's defeat to Lepidus, how could this be possible? After buying a copy of the Roman daily, Lucullus felt very heavy. He just glanced at it briefly and walked towards the Temple of Jupiter on Capitoline Hill. Aeneas had already convened a Senate meeting, and he had to rush there as soon as possible. The elders of the Roman Senate were generally not allowed to leave Rome, so that they could rush to the scene as soon as possible when the meeting was held. The Roman Senate held meetings at different addresses. Sometimes they were held in temples or halls in the city, such as the Temple of Jupiter, the Temple of the Earth Mother, the Temple of Pollux, the Cornelia Hall, or the Julia Hall. Sometimes they were held outside the city, but they could not exceed the border of Rome, such as Bellona and the Temple of Apollo. They usually met with foreign envoys who did not want them to enter Rome or discuss requests for a triumphal ceremony. Not long after, he came to the Temple of Jupiter. At this time, many senators had come to the temple, and some of them were holding the Roman daily in their hands, making excited sounds from time to time. Seeing Lucullus coming, several senators came over. Since Sulla appointed Lucullus as the guardian of his children, Lucullus tried his best to finally win over some senators around him, and established a small group. But more people, such as Livy, Clara, and Pompey, did not take him seriously at all. Lucullus had only been Sulla's treasurer, although he was good at logistics and had raised a large number of warships for Sulla. He was young and lacked prestige. The Senate was the most particular about seniority. Seeing them whispering, Crassus rolled his eyes and surrounded them. "Lucullus, are you going to agree to Livius' request?" Crassus asked. "Of course, Dragon City was attacked and Naples rebelled. Livius has no intention of dealing with Lepidus. It is better to let him go back to eliminate the Naples rebels. Lucullus said, I think he should recruit a few lieutenants from us. What do you think? Crassus said. Hearing his words, Lucullus was moved. Pirates are honors given for free. Who would complain about too much honor? So he said, it is indeed right to do so. I think we should discuss the terms with Cerobio, Crassus said with a smile. Lucullus hesitated for a moment and nodded. So they walked towards Cerobio. At this time, he was talking to some senators. Relying on the expansion of Marcian's lending business, Cerobio became more and more influential in the Senate. Under various temptations or coercion, they had to agree to Livius's conditions, but there were still some senators who did not buy Livius's account, so Cerobio had to exchange their support through various exchanges. Cerobio, Lucullus and I have something to talk to you about, Crassus said with a smile. What is it? Cerobio asked puzzledly. We can support Livius' proposal, but I hope Livius will choose me and Lucullus as deputy generals. Crassus said, aren't we friends? What conditions are there to discuss? Cerobio said dissatisfiedly. Don't come on, public is public, private is private. Who would do something without benefits? Just say whether you agree or not. Crassus sneered. Cerobio signed helplessly. He wanted to trick Crassus, but he didn't expect Crassus to be fooled at all. How many people can you get for me? Cerobio asked. More than 130 at most, but some people are not here, so there must be at least 100, Crassus said proudly. Cerobio and Lucullus looked at him in shock. They didn't expect that Crassus had quietly developed such a powerful force in the Senate. It was really shocking. Crassus smiled proudly. He knew that the number of senators he controlled was not as many as Livius. But who else could compare to him except Livius? Cerobio looked at him deeply, and then said to Lucullus, what about you? This 12, Lucullus said with a blush. Compared with Livius and Crassus, this number simply made him feel ashamed. Cerobio did not laugh at him. Being able to win over 12 senators was already quite good. A faint sneer appeared at the corner of Crassus' mouth, but this sneer quickly disappeared. Chapter 222, Deputy General. Well, I promise you, but I have a condition. If General Livius can recruit 6 legions, both of you can become lieutenants. If the number of legions is less than 6, then I can only choose one from you. Cerobio said. He had a general understanding of Livius's plan, so he knew it was best not to let outsiders control the army. 6 legions? No problem, Crassus said with a smile. I have no objection either, Lucullus said. Then I wish us a happy cooperation, Cerobio said. Not long after, the number of people in the Senate reached the legal number of people to convene. Although the Senate was expanded to 600 by Sulla, there were often less than 500 people who could come to the meeting. A large number of senators were sent to various places for official business, or were recruited as lieutenants to fight in Spain and other places. The chief priest offered sacrifices to Jupiter as usual, then looked at the sky and said, good luck. The convening of the Senate meeting requires observing the omens of the sky. Once it is a bad omen, the Senate meeting cannot be held. Although the matter was urgent, the necessary procedures still had to be followed. As the convener of the Senate, Ennius stood on the podium. He would preside over the entire Senate and control the progress of the entire Senate. It was the first time he presided over such a meeting, and in front of so many bigwigs. To be honest, he was a little nervous, but after all, he had served as a military tribune for many years and often spoke to his soldiers, so he quickly adjusted himself. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you all know the current situation. Naples administrator Coponius responded to Lepidus's rebellion against Rome, and a large number of pirates attacked Dragon City, causing the deaths of more than 2,000 Roman citizens. At present, pirates are rampant in Campania, and the people are complaining. Campanian Admiral Levi proposed that he return to Campania to quell the rebellion of Coponius, and authorized him to form 6 legions. As for the Capua garrison, it will remain in Rome under the command of former consul Catullus. This is our topic today. I fully support this, and the reason is, Ennius repeated his reasons. Hearing this, some senators could not help but roll their eyes. You became the tribune of the people because of him, so of course you support him. After Aeneas finished speaking, he continued, "Next, the chief senator Valerius will speak. The speeches in the Senate have a strict order. The first to speak is the chief senator Valerius, and then the former consul, the current consul, the former magistrate, the current magistrate, and the order of seniority and rank from high to low. Under normal circumstances, Aeneas should ask the opinions of each senator before voting, and of course there will be debates in between. I think 6 legions are too many, 4 legions are enough. The combat effectiveness of the pirates is not very good, and 4 legions are enough to wipe them out." Valerius said, "I object. Although the combat effectiveness of the pirates is not good, in order to quell the rebellion as soon as possible and reduce the suffering of the people, we should mobilize heavy troops to quickly quell the pirates. 4 legions can certainly defeat the pirates, but the number is too small, it takes too long, and it will cause greater harm to the people." At this time, Nobleman said, "I agree with the chief senator, 6 legions are too many." "I object." Aeneas found that the entire Senate immediately turned into a market, with quarrels everywhere and no order at all. At this time, he remembered Cerbio's reminder, so he hurriedly said, "Silence, silence, silence." After shouting for most of the day, the Senate finally quieted down. Some people nodded slightly to Aeneas to show their respect. The tribunes of the people had unlimited power to veto the resolutions of the Senate, and they restrained the Senate too much. On the contrary, once the tribunes of the people and the Senate joined hands, their power was unimaginable, and even the consuls had to retreat. Everyone wants to express their opinions. I think the topics should be separated. The first topic is whether to allow Admiral Levi to lead troops to support Campania. "Now please let Senator Valerius speak." Aeneas said, "I agree." Valerius thought for a while and said, "Now, please invite Senator Divus to speak." "I agree." "Now, please invite Senator Gaius Coelius Cardus to speak." "I object." Now, let's vote. Those who agree that Livius should lead his troops to Campania, please stand on my left hand. Those who disagree, please stand on my right hand. 318 votes in favor, 120 votes against. I now declare that the Senate officially agrees that Admiral Livius should lead his troops to Campania. The second topic is how many legions are allowed to be formed by Admiral Livius. Just now, many senators thought it was 4. Is it 4 or 6? Now, please invite Senator Valerius to speak. Hearing this, Crassus's face turned a little bad. He kept winking at the senators who owed him debts. "I think it is 4. Valerius said. 6, 4, 4. After fierce debate and voting, before dark, the Senate officially passed a resolution authorizing Livius to form 4 legions to quell the rebellion in Campania. These 4 legions should include the previous 3 legions, and he must select 6 people from the senators to become the deputy generals of these 4 legions. After the meeting, Crassus looked unhappy. He went to Cerbio and hoped that Levi could make him the deputy general. Lucullus looked gloomy. He found that his strength was too weak, and he probably would not be the deputy general this time. Who should I choose from the 6 deputy generals? Levi thought in the Vatican. The deputy general must be a member of the Senate and must have served as a treasurer, which eliminated many people. Of course, his own men must be selected, but there are too many senators who have come to him these days. They all want to earn military merits and regard those pirates as fat meat delivered to their doorsteps. Everyone wants to take a bite. As for Crassus and Lucullus, forget it. Choose both of them. Levi thought, Crassus is a real villain and it is not easy to offend him, and he has made great efforts this time, so he should be chosen for both reason and emotion. Lucullus is a truly famous general, so it would be best if he could be won over. 2 deputy generals are nothing. In the village where Memmius was, Father Lungus was holding a copy of the Roman journal and giving an impassioned speech in the village square. Dear people of the true God, respected veterans, the evil Lepidus is leading his army to Rome. He has joined forces with vicious pirates, trying to overthrow the system established by Sulla, trying to put those wandering nobles back in power, and trying to seize the land in your hands. Tell me, can you agree to his request? Chapter 223. No, no. Kill that son of a bitch. The old soldiers roared angrily. The land was their only source of livelihood. Seizing their land would mean the death of their entire family. How could they allow such a thing to happen? The Senate has authorized the great prophet and wise commander Levi to form 4 legions to quell the Campanian rebellion. If you are willing to defend your property and your land, put on your armor, pick up your daggers, and go to the Appian Way to wait for Levi's call. He will go to Campania to quell the rebellion from there. And the great prophet promised that the prophet can fully compensate for the losses of participating in the rebellion. This is not only to defend the great Rome, but also to defend one's own property. Long live the great prophet! Long live the great Rome! Long live the prophet! Long live Rome! The old men in the square shouted enthusiastically. After returning to her home, Fabia looked worried. Is there going to be a war again? Yes. But the opponent is just a group of pirates. Memmius said. Will you go? Fabia asked. I will go. This is the duty of a retainer. Memmius said. The duties and responsibilities of the protectors and the protected in Rome were engraved in the 12 tables a long time ago. When Livius encountered difficulties, they, the retainers, had the obligation to do their best to help. Of course, when they encountered difficulties, Livius also had the responsibility to help. Ennius told me that the biggest loss I suffered in my life was not being loyal enough. We have so many children, and we must find a way out for them. This little land may not be enough, Memmius said. Fabia was pregnant again. She already had 3 children, but actually gave birth to 5 children, but 2 of them died of illness. Then I will let the slaves cook you 5 days of cooked food, and you can take it with you on the road, Fabia said. Memmius nodded and then looked for his armor. Naples has now become a military camp, and the streets are full of rampant pirates. Some of them are disheveled, and some are drunk. Some even molested Roman women, arousing the anger of a large number of Roman citizens. If the guards hadn't separated them, they might have fought. Laelius looked at all this with a gloomy face. This couldn't go on, otherwise, the citizens would oppose them without the enemy taking action. He came to Lysax's mansion and found Lysax drinking precious wine with the service of 2 female slaves. And he kept touching the 2 female slaves, making them laugh. He coughed lightly, attracting Lysax's attention, and then let go of the female slaves. What do you want? Those pirates are really too much. I think you should take care of them, Laelius said. Since the failure of the sneak attack on Dragon City, the pirates they contacted have come to Naples. To their regret, a large number of troops have already entered Dragon City. They attacked Dragon City once, but unfortunately failed, and finally had to retreat to Naples. How to take care of them? You have to remember that they are pirates, not soldiers. Don't use the standards of soldiers to demand them, otherwise they will rebel, Lysax said with a sneer on his face. With their looks, how can they resist Levi's army? He is not an easy man to deal with, Laelius said. Do you think you can defeat Levi with these pirates? Lysax looked at him as if he were a fool. Laelius' face turned red. Then why did you summon so many pirates? Our purpose is to attract Levi and part of the troops to create an opportunity for Lepidus to defeat the Roman army. If Levi stays in Rome, then he has no chance of winning, Lysax said. Laelius thought about it, and although he felt that what he said was too harsh, it made sense. Levi's record was too brilliant, and Lepidus could not be compared with him at all. They are just consumables to attract Levi. If you want to win, Lepidus must defeat Pompey and occupy Rome, Lysax said. At this time, a pirate rushed in. Boss, Levi has led a large number of soldiers back to Dragon City. The number is at least more than 2 legions. Laelius and Lysax looked at each other. How did he recruit so many soldiers so quickly? Laelius asked hurriedly. I heard that when he came back from the Appian Way, many veterans were waiting for him on both sides of the road, and then they joined his army directly. And there are also a large number of troops in Pompeii heading to Dragon City, the pirate said. This is really… Lysax didn't know what to say. In the past, when conscription was forced, the Roman army assembled very quickly. But now it is voluntary recruitment, and there are so many Roman citizens willing to join his army, which fully demonstrates their trust in Livius. It seems that we have to prepare for the battle, Laelius said. Lysax nodded. In Dragon City, looking at everything in front of him, Livius was so angry that he wanted to curse. He hunted geese all day, But he didn't expect to be pecked in the eye by a goose. He thought he was familiar with the history of Lepidus' rebellion, but he didn't expect to be harmed by the history he knew. "You are finally back." After seeing Levi, Amelia excitedly threw herself into his arms, and Julia and Cybele were also in tears. These days really scared them. "Believe me, this will never happen again." Levi patted her shoulder gently and said. He comforted Amelia, Julia and Cybele for a long time, and then took Belias, Crassus and others to his own meeting room. Seeing Levi's frosty face, Plautus and Morris followed carefully. When they arrived at the meeting room, Levi sat at the first seat, and all the lieutenants and Plautus and others were on both sides. "Morris, tell me what happened that day." Levi glared at Morris fiercely, and then said. Morris's face changed slightly, and then he told everything that happened that day. "Later we captured some prisoners and found that some of them were not pirates, but mercenaries. Someone spent a lot of money to hire them to attack Longcheng. It was them who ambushed our two large groups of people, and they were all equipped with steel swords. It was them who made us suffer a great loss." Morris said. "Mercenaries? What country are they from?" Levi asked. "Mainly Pontus and Greeks, in addition to some Thracians." Morris said. "Pontus, Greece, Thrace, how could it be them?" Hearing this, Levi was confused. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Intelligence Team in Action. However, Pontus still caught his attention. Pontus had always been hostile to Rome. It had fought all the way to Asia and Greece, killing many Romans, which led to Sulla's expedition to the east. After Sulla's death, Pontus began to be restless again and swallowed up Bithynia, which was intended to be incorporated into Rome, which caused Lucullus and Pompey to go on the expedition to the east. It couldn't be the king of Pontus who did it. Moreover, his steel sword was indeed a weapon that could change the pattern of war. Any ambitious person would not let it go. As for why they were equipped with steel swords, this was Livy's fault. Livy completely opened up the sale of steel swords, and kings and merchants from various countries bought a lot, but he didn't expect that it would hurt himself. "What's the situation now?" Lucullus asked at this time. Morris glanced at him, but did not answer. Instead, he looked at Livy quietly, and Livy nodded slightly. Morris said, "At present, the rebels have not only occupied Naples, but also contacted a large number of pirates and completely occupied the Bay of Naples. All the ships there have been seized by pirates, and the entire sea is full of pirates. They come in groups and plunder everywhere, but never go deep into the inland. We have received a large number of requests for assistance, but due to insufficient troops, we cannot go to support." "How many rebels are there?" Lucullus continued to ask. "There are more than 5,000 Roman soldiers and about 5,000 pirates in Naples, and at least 30,000 pirates in other places. Moreover, they occupy the port of Naples. These pirates can support Naples at any time." Morris asked, "This battle is not easy to fight. We only have about 2 legions of soldiers. It is very difficult to capture Naples guarded by so many soldiers." Crassus said, "Capua and Pompey have recruited about 1 legion of soldiers. They have already rushed here, otherwise, we can't resist their attack at all." Morris said, "Even so, it will take a lot of effort to conquer Naples. There are pirates harassing outside, and the garrison of Naples is very sufficient. What's more terrible is that they can get support at any time." Lucullus said, "In fact, it's not that difficult. We have people in Naples." Morris said hurriedly, "Whether he can redeem himself depends on this time." "Oh, what do you mean?" Crassus asked. Morris glanced at Crassus and stopped talking. Crassus was so angry that he couldn't help but wonder what this guy was doing. How could he guard against them like thieves? "How many people do we have in Naples?" Levi asked. "My people have 100 core members and about 300 peripheral members. I have asked them to find a way to mix into the army. In addition, there are about 2,500 of your retainers, tenants, and crew members. They hid in Naples to avoid pirates. But Coponius doesn't trust these people and keeps a very strict watch on them. Some of them have been imprisoned. In addition, there are many believers of the true God. We can mobilize them when necessary. Morris said. Hearing this, Lucullus and Crassus were overjoyed. This way, Naples would be much easier to fight. Don't mobilize those believers. The true God does not allow us to use them to interfere in politics unless they are persecuted. Looking at Lucullus and Crassus, Levi said with a serious face. Okay, Morris said quickly. Crassus's mouth twitched slightly. What a hypocritical guy. Based on his understanding of Levi, he didn't believe that Levi were such a person. These believers were definitely a trump card in Levi's hand. Lieutenant General Lucullus, how do you think we should fight? Levi asked. I think we should surround Naples and at the same time have people provoke conflicts between the Romans and the pirates, and find ways to intensify their conflicts. Then contact your people, and cooperate inside and outside. This way it will be easy to take Naples. Lucullus said. Livius nodded and asked, what about the pirates in other places? Those pirates are not the focus. As long as Naples is conquered and Pompey defeats Lepidus, the pirates will retreat. We can send troops to suppress them everywhere to prevent them from going too far. At the same time, we will ask Rome for help and let them find a way to suppress the pirates. Lucullus said. Livius nodded. He was indeed a famous general of the time. He considered everything very carefully. It's almost the same as I thought. Let's do it. You and Crassus each lead 5 battalions and 300 cavalry to suppress the pirates everywhere. The others will follow me to prepare to attack Naples. Lucullus said. No problem. Lucullus said. Can I go to Naples? Crassus asked. He was really not interested in suppressing the pirates. Just thinking about it, you know that it is a thankless job. When you arrive after receiving the request for support, the pirates may have already boarded the ship and fled. Not only will you be rejected, but you may also be scolded by the Roman people there. This mission is very important. Among all the deputy generals, the 2 are the most capable. I'm afraid that no one else can take on this important task except you. Levi said seriously. Well, then, Crassus accepted Levi's flattery. After all, Levi's flattery is not something that ordinary people can enjoy. The other deputy generals looked at the head of the family with resentment. Is it really okay for you to arrange us like this? After joining forces with various troops, Levi finally had the power of 4 legions in his hands. So he handed it over to Crassus and Lucullus all the way, asking them to suppress the pirates everywhere, and some of them to guard Dragon City and various cities. He led 2 legions to Naples to prepare for the siege. At this time, a carrier pigeon flew across the sky and landed in a small courtyard in Naples. Decius silently took a small note from the carrier pigeon, took out a dictionary to compare, and finally translated its meaning. To provoke the relationship between the Romans and the pirates? It seems that the relationship between the Romans and the pirates has always been very tense, and soon a series of vicious schemes came up in his mind. So he called a few people and gave them some instructions. After a few days, a lot of rumors spread in Naples, and they became more and more bizarre. In the dark night, a team of Roman soldiers patrolled the city with torches. Have you heard? Those pirates burned, killed and looted everywhere, and robbed a large amount of gold and silver treasures. Many of them were transported to Naples and hidden. A Roman soldier said, I heard about it too. That is the wealth of us Romans. Why did they rob it? Another Roman soldier said, that's right. Why do we have to cooperate with them? Everyone began to talk. Someone looked at the leader of the team, the decapitation, and found that his face was a little gloomy, but did not stop it. Chapter 225 Mutiny. This made the Roman soldiers even more unbridled. They were just soldiers who were temporarily recruited and had not received strict military training. I also heard that they captured a lot of Roman women, some of whom were transported to the surrounding islands, and some to Naples. Those Roman women were not only abused by them, but I heard that some were gang-raped and were trained to be sexually abusive. I also heard that the 3 daughters of a family in our village were captured by pirates. The man was dissatisfied and went to the administrator to argue, but was locked up by the administrator. Why are they so evil? Can't people who collude with pirates be evil? Enough, everyone. Be careful when you speak. Don't let anyone hear you. Seeing that they were getting more and more outrageous, the decapitation captain coughed and said, Sir, "Why do you say we are fighting for the interests of those exiled nobles?" someone asked. The decapitation captain was speechless for a long time. In history, the Roman civilians and nobles fought for a long and unremitting struggle to win various interests, such as the establishment of the position of the tribune of the civilians, which was specifically responsible for protecting the interests of the civilians. It was impossible to expect them to sacrifice their lives for the nobles, let alone a group of exiled nobles. Seeing that the centurion was speechless, everyone started talking again, and everyone cursed the administrator Coponius in a low voice. At this time, they heard footsteps coming from the alley next to them, and they lowered their voices. "Ha ha ha, today the Roman woman resisted so fiercely at the beginning. I just like this kind of fierce horse." Unfortunately, when it was my turn, she was almost out of breath, like a dead body, without any strength, and I lost 3 dinars. Her body was too weak, she only supported 15 men and died. It's not like the last one, who supported more than 20 men. Tomorrow we will continue the game. Guess how many men the woman chosen by the boss can support? I bet no more than 20. Look at your vision. She has such a great figure and has given birth to a child. It can't be more than 30. All kinds of obscene words came from the alley. When they walked out of the alley, they found a group of Roman soldiers staring at them in a daze. The eyes were like looking at the murderer of their father. "No, run," a man who looked like a pirate said. After that, the 2 pirates fled madly. "Assholes, I'm going to kill you," a Roman soldier said angrily. He was about to chase after him, but was caught by another soldier. Calm down, the Roman soldier looked at the man who caught him angrily. "Gaius, didn't you hear what they said? They raped Roman women to death, and they made a bet on this. Are you a Roman? Are you bullshit? From now on, I will break off my friendship with you, and you are no longer my friend." "Gaius, I misjudged you too." "Bah, you are a man, sir, let's chase them and kill them." "Kill them." Gaius said quickly, "I'm sorry, I was wrong just now. I also think they should be killed." A strange light flashed in the eyes of the centurion, and then he said angrily, "Okay, let's chase." Unfortunately, due to Gaius's obstruction and the fact that they were wearing armor, they chased for a long time but failed to catch up with the 2 pirates. The next day, the news spread throughout the Roman camp at an incredible speed. Those pirates were competing to rape Roman women to death, and they made a bet on this. One by one, the Roman soldiers roared angrily, pointing at the administrative residents and cursing. "Coponius is the public enemy of Rome. He gained wealth and glory by selling Roman women to pirates. That bastard. I think we should rebel. Let General Levi come in and kill all those pirates." "That's right, let the admiral come in." The soldiers' reaction was so intense that it was beyond the intelligence team's expectations. They were overjoyed, so they carefully guided public opinion. "Open the city gates and welcome Levi," a member of the intelligence team shouted loudly. "Open the city gates and welcome Levi. Open the city gates and welcome Levi." The furious Roman soldiers shouted one after another, and the voices gradually merged into a torrent. Some of Coponius's confidants were shocked when they saw this. A military tribune winked at a decapitator, and the decapitator immediately ran to the executive officer's residence. "Everyone, please calm down. I believe there must be some misunderstanding," the military tribune said. "Don't believe him. He is Coponius's retainer and Coponius's lackey." A soldier from the intelligence team shouted, "Kill this lackey. Kill him." A group of people were fanning the flames inside, and the soldiers' emotions were getting higher and higher. Seeing the fierce light flashing in the soldiers' eyes, the military tribune immediately became cowardly and led his men out of the camp. After a cadre from the intelligence team found that it was almost time, he immediately shouted loudly, "Everyone follow me. Open the city gate, welcome Levi, and kill all these pirates. We are not afraid of them because we have more people." After that, he took several members of the intelligence team to the camp gate first, with someone taking the lead. Others walked towards the camp gate one after another. Some people were a little hesitant, but seeing that everyone left here one after another, they gritted their teeth and followed. Levi's army was just outside the city. What were they afraid of? And even without Levi's army, Those pirates were not their opponents. The Roman soldiers were absolutely confident in this. A member of the intelligence team did not follow out, and lit the wolf smoke that had been prepared long ago, and some light yellow smoke rose into the air. Morris, who had been observing the situation in Naples, was surprised and delighted. What was going on? Did the entire Roman camp riot? But this did not affect his actions. He quickly reported the situation here to Levi. Levi was also overjoyed. Assemble the troops immediately and prepare to attack the city. Some troops quickly assembled and came to the outside of Naples. At this time, the east gate of Naples was undergoing the final confrontation. Soldiers, please think carefully. Don't be fooled by the enemy. Those pirates did rob some money, but gang rape to death never happened. They are our friends. They are friends who resist the great dictator Sulla's party. A military tribune said earnestly, being able to be sent to guard the city gate, he must be someone Coponius can trust. Moreover, he is a member of the exiled nobles, and he naturally hates Levi and others. Hearing this, the Roman soldiers were so angry that they almost laughed. Bullshit. You are such a shameless noble. How dare you say such a thing? If they didn't rape Roman women, would they still be pirates? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.